Peace, y'all. What up? My name is Brother Legend. If you're joining us on YouTube, my TikTok is BIGBROLGND. You can find me there where I'll go live almost every day. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Let us know that you're getting value from the content. What up, y'all? What's going on? Shout out to all my people here on TikTok. Also, y'all can follow me on Twitter, BIGBROLGND. I'll be on there tweeting my behind off. I've been having fun communicating with the Pan-Africans on there. What's going on? I got some questions up above me, some things that I want to talk to y'all about. Mostly yes or no questions. Yeah, they are yes or no. There might be some added nuance that you want to elaborate on. Feel free. Dr. Robert, what's going on, brother? Any added nuance that y'all want to talk about, you can. But just give us a brief yes or no. Yeah, Dr. Robert, you be on Twitter, man. I just started going crazy on there. I'm gonna keep posting. So me and my wife running that Twitter account. Yeah, she here now. Oh, it's a bunch of no's, Kira. Look like it's a bunch of no's. Pan-African Twitter is a blessing, though. Pan-African Twitter is a blessing. I had to find Pan-African Twitter. I didn't know about Pan-African Twitter till this past week. I just found y'all. So shout out to Pan-African Twitter, man. I was on the other side of Twitter. I was on the entertainment side of Twitter. So I'm like, okay, there's people like me out here. Okay. Woo. What a load off. Peace, Clara. Thank you for the roses. Can black parents raise a non-black kid? Yes, that is the question. Why'd you repeat the question? As for number 2, I grew up to be pro-black. I feel, but my mom, black, but my non-black adopted parents had nothing to do with it. Okay. So they didn't raise you that way. You ended up that way. You feel me? I hear that. But they didn't raise you to be that way. You know what I'm saying? They didn't give you the tools. You found them. You found them. Getting a lot of no's in here. It must be this must be the conscious corner of TikTok. What's going on? It's the conscious corner. All right. What's going on? Peace to y'all. Virginia CB. Appreciate the gifts. Thank you for letting the algorithm know that you're getting some value from the live. That helps us get more guests up here. As we're up here, we just want to have discussions talking about interracial relationships. Do they benefit the black community? Can non-black parents raise pro-black children? Can a non-black person be pro-black? And can black and white cultures peacefully coexist? Peacefully. Okay. All right, just asking. Peace. Understand? Some of y'all gonna come up here. We coexist just fine. First of all, I said culture, not people. Peacefully, though. Because even if you want to say people, do we peacefully coexist? How many of y'all heard about that sister in LA, Los Angeles? Niani. How many of y'all heard about Sister Niani, who called the popo on her man that was doing things he shouldn't be doing? And the police showed up and unalived her within seconds. In seconds. If you don't know, this is why you need to join my Twitter, where I keep y'all updated on the goings on of the diaspora. 3 seconds. That's right. 3 seconds. The police showed up. And this is why sisters are the least likely to call the police when something goes on. This is why sisters are the least likely, more than any other woman, to call the police, because they know the police do not protect them. This is why sisters are the least likely to be protected. Sisters are the least protected in our society. Do I oil pull my teeth? What are you talking about? My teeth look yellow today. I don't know. I should. I know what you're talking about. Coconut oil. I should. I ain't done that in a while though. Dr. Layla Africa says your teeth are yellow. He says white teeth is a Eurocentric beauty standard. Your teeth are yellow. Used to rinse their mouth with pig urine to get their teeth, the ammonia from the urine would make their teeth white. Because they think they associate whiteness with cleanliness. So that's the thing. Teeth are yellow. But okay, yeah. I guess I don't know. They all right. My teeth all right. I be brushing it with baking soda. Somebody's trying to come up. I don't think it's working for you. I don't know. It's not working for him. Not working for him. But yeah, y'all, answer the questions up above. I got a few answers. Laura's getting an A. Laura's getting an A. I can see you get a. Hold on now. I can't see. Hold on. Are you a sister? You a sister. I'm sorry. I can't see. You get a C. You get a C. I can't see gets a C. Laura gets an A. Yeah, that did look like a troll name. I can't see gets a C. Laura got an A. Who else we got? Who else we got? Who else wants to answer some questions? While we wait for our guest to come up. Come on up, y'all. We over 2K in the likes. Come on up. Levi Hayes gets an A. Who else we got? Oh, of course, Kira. Everybody that's on code gets an A. Lee should be playing too much. And CB, because Lee should know better. But CB definitely getting an A. All right, Sajes gets an A as well. Dior. Oh man, this is the conscious corner today. This is the conscious corner. It's Hoodoo birthday. Oh, hey. Blessed Earth strong, Queen. Blessed Earth strong. Live it up. That's amazing. Another one around the sun. Absolutely. That's great to hear. Shout out to my sister Hoodoo. That's great. Yes, sir. All right. So we're gonna see if this person can come up. Gene Pike, what's going on?
Hey,
Could you give us your age, race, and pronouns, please?
yes, sir. I am 26. I'm African American, and I use he/him pronouns.
All right, talk to us, brother.
I just honestly, I randomly came across your live and saw some of the topics and thought it was interesting. So, what's been the discussion?
Well, you starting the discussion. So answer the questions up above. Give us yes, no, your brief reason why.
Okay. Let's see. Do interracial relationships benefit the Black community? Okay. Also, I'm open to all perspectives. I'm not going to judge you for what you say, and I hopefully will receive the same respect. But personally, I know this is controversial, but I do think I don't. Well, I wouldn't say that they necessarily benefit, but I wouldn't say they don't benefit. Interracial um, relationships in the Black community. I don't. I mean, I don't want to be bashed for saying they benefit, but I definitely um, uh, don't think they harm the African American community.
Hmm.
So, what about you? What do you think?
I can name ways that they harm the black community. I
Okay, tell me. Yeah,
cannot
tell me for
name
sure.
ways. I cannot name ways they benefit the black community. I don't know a benefit.
Okay, well, change my mind for real.
Um, Many different things. The fact that Loving versus Virginia was not introduced to the black community because they wanted it to, but because the same people that stole their great great grandparents from Africa decided that they wanted to allow that to happen. They allowed themselves into our community. You can't name one protest where black people were marching up and down the streets because they wanted interracial marriages. The
Understandable.
reason the reason that it happened, is because around that same time, black people had decided they were going to start forming power within their own communities. And an easy way to compromise somebody from having an allegiance to their community is to give them someone that they love and outside of the community and say, now you have allegiance outside of your community as well. What are you going to do? You can't be for your community and for the progress of your community if you're also going to be with someone outside of your community who won't necessarily benefit from that progress.
Well, me, it sounds like you're saying that I cannot be pro-black while um, being in an interracial relationship, right?
Yeah, that's part
Okay.
of it. Yeah,
Uh,
and and
Okay. So,
and and
sorry.
and and it harms the black community whenever someone decides not to help a community that is being harmed. And now, if our community was in a neutral state, then people decided they didn't want to build and help preserve our community, then that would be one thing where it's like, okay, you're not helping us go any higher. You're just keeping us neutral. However, the problem is our community is under attack. So everyone that decides not to be a part of the solution is a part of the problem.
I understand. I hear what you're saying. I disagree just a little bit. I do think you can be pro-black in an interracial relationship. I think that being anti-black is the enemy. Period. So if you, so I feel like, um, I mean, unless you're uh, prejudiced or discriminatory, you can always help the black community, even though you're dating someone who's of another race. So I don't see specifically how uh, specifically dating somebody who's another race hurts hurts your race. I think the only thing that hurts our race is, being derogatory towards our race, being prejudiced, being discriminatory. And I feel like as long as you're not prejudiced, discriminatory towards your race, then there should be a problem.
Mm. So that's like someone walking up to you and saying, "Hi, nice to meet you. I'm not punching you right now, so I'm doing that. I'm doing a favor for you right now by not punching you. Aren't I such a
So
nice guy that I'm not punching you? Like someone you've done nothing to just walks up to you and says, "Because I'm not punching you, I'm doing you a great favor right now. I'm pro you because I'm not hitting you." You see what I'm saying?
so using that
Anti-racism,
analogy, sorry, I'm breaking up.
anti-racism,
Yes.
anti-racism is a zero-sum game. Anti-racism takes us from negative 100 to neutral state to where there is no racism. That's the goal of anti-racism. Pro-blackness takes us from 0 to 100. The thing about brothers and sisters that is so sad and just part of what my mission has been, doing these lives with b1initiative.org, link in my bio, is helping brothers and sisters understand the reason why, honestly, the reason why we have Kwanzaa. Today is the fifth day of Kwanzaa, Nia, which talks about, um, building within our community and the importance of reciprocity in our own endeavors and how it helps the community. Um, so basically, it's to make your personal vocation something that also benefits the community as a whole, not just you yourself. It's about more than just the individual. And when we're talking about pro-blackness, we're talking about prioritizing one's actions and values with what's in the best interest of building within the black community. Anti-racism cannot be our measuring stick for where we measure who is pro-black and who's not, because that's literally just saying because you aren't directly harming us that you are doing something for us, and that's not the same thing.
Good night.
Good night, Julian. I'm gonna come to you in a moment, sister. I'm trying to figure out what's going on with this last guest. I'll come to you in a moment. Go ahead, Gene.
Sorry, I guess I have a poor connection. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
So you said the phrase, you used the phrase punching yourself or punching. Um, I work in mental health and I target African Americans, African American men specifically. Um, I have never committed homicide. Um, I feel like there's a lot of black on black crime. And just correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh,
You
that's
know, I'm here
horrible.
to learn.
That's horrible that you
Um,
say that.
just hear me.
That's
I
a
mean,
myth.
just I'm not.
There's
I'm
just
you know.
crime. There's no race attached to crime when anyone else does it but us.
Well, what I'm saying is, you specifically mentioned that I'm harming the African American community by dating someone
I
who's a
never
different
said that.
race.
Please accurately.
But
I never said that. I didn't even know you had a non-black woman till just now. So I never said you were harming anybody.
no. I was speaking hypothetically. Um, I don't.
Mm.
I have a partner. But I felt like, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. That you mentioned that interracial dating is, you said, for African Americans would be harming the community, right?
Um, I I was saying that you can't be pro-black and date interracially, and when people choose not to be pro-black, and not be part of the solution for our community, they are indirectly going to be a harm to our community. Now, does that mean that they're harming our community actively? It could also be passively. You could be harming our community by having your frosted female raising your children not to love themselves, disconnecting them further from their African roots. You could like it harms our community in such indirect ways. I'd prefer people that thought that way go and be a part of the community that you married into. If you are with a thin-lipped woman or man or whatever, you want to go and do that, cool, go be with them, but don't try to bring them to the cookout.
Why not?
Because they've always been a harm to the cookout. They turn the cookouts into picnics, and we don't want that. We've had enough picnics. You know what they used to do to us at picnics?
I understand. I understand. I'm just trying to be effective. I feel like, somebody who's never harmed anyone, right? Who they've been raised not to discriminate against anyone, not to put any race over any race. You know, they, so I feel like
Where are
there's
these
no
people?
harm
What,
bringing
you
them
talking
to.
about non-black people, or are you talking about black people?
I'm talking about non-black people, yeah,
So, all right. So,
because you mentioned.
name me a non-black person that wasn't raised to look at black people as less than.
Well, I have a friend that's Hispanic, and um, he's told he's told me that his parents raised him not to be discriminatory towards black people, towards anyone. So I feel like that meets the criteria to be around my family.
First of all, Hispanic isn't a
I just
race.
want.
Second of all, if
Oh
he
well,
is indigenous to South America, that's great. Um, but the thing is, at the end of the day, being an anti-racist is a choice in a racist society. No one is naturally not racist in a world where anti-blackness is permeated worldwide. Like, if that were the case, then I would hope to see a lot more melanated people in these non-black communities. There would be a lot more black people in these in these spaces where black people don't exist, where there are none. You know, you go to you know, an Asian community, you go to a white community, you go to a synagogue, you don't see many of us there. But yet so many people are quick to say, I wasn't raised that way. I don't even know what racism is. Like, come on, man.
I hear what you're saying.
That also doesn't make them pro-black, by the way.
I hear what you're saying. I just feel like you know, you should give everybody the benefit of the doubt. You know, don't count
No.
somebody as. I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. I understand.
Mm-mm.
But
We're
that's
done
just
with that. We're done with that. We've been given the benefit of a doubt for too long, brother. It's too long. You a black man. Stop playing. Don't go ahead. Go ahead. Look, he gave her the benefit of a doubt. Where he going next year? He going to
well.
jail.
Okay, so you're telling me. Okay, so let's talk about that situation. So he did nothing wrong. I have not researched the story. I've only seen the video of him running. Okay, so what did he do? Did he not commit any crimes?
He called the police. That's what he did wrong. He called the police and expected them to help him in a situation with her. That's what he did wrong. He did a few things wrong before that, but that's what he did wrong. He thought the police was going to help him. He called the police on himself, and now he going to jail
What? So what is he going to jail for?
for trying to make thin lip Coretta Scott King. He tried to make her Michelle Obama.
Uh, okay. Okay. Well,
He's going to jail because he responded wrong. This is a take of Dr. Umar's that I agree with. He's responding. He responded wrong to an assault by her, and that's why he's going to jail. Because the text messages in his response,
he responded wrong. What do you mean?
He responded wrong. The way that he responded in text messages was, I think he thought about his career before he thought about what was going on, and those text messages made him look very incriminating, especially to people that you know, that don't look at him as the default of a man.
What were the texts?
I listen. I'm not really a celebrity, enthusiast.
Yeah, pop culture. Yeah, understand.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, but all in all, just the text messages were more geared towards protecting his career and saying, people are going to think that, it was like he's trying to make it not become a news story and trying to tell her not to go to like the hospital or the police or something. And it just made things look bad for him. Even though we saw footage of the man running away from her. The man called the police himself. I don't know anyone that would do something to a woman and then call the police. That's wild to me. That's wild to me. I mean, I don't know anyone that would do something to a woman, but no man I know is dumb enough to, if you do something to somebody, you're going to call the police. But okay.
So let me ask you this, okay? What if we start? I mean, what if Caucasians use the same rhetoric? They probably, I mean, you're probably gonna say they already do. But, what if they just more outwardly started using the same rhetoric that you're suggesting African Americans take right now?
Marry black women. Black love is a revolutionary act. Shout out to sisters. Yeah. And they're more likely to stay with us than any other woman. And they're more likely to marry us than any other woman. So That's it. Like you're not safe outside the community. Whether you want
Well, I
to,
mean, you mentioned. I mean, you mentioned.
you still there?
Bad connection.
I think you're right, Peanut. All right, we got more guests up here. Gene, I gotta go up. Look at CB. CB got this book up. They were her property. A lot of brothers need to read that. They were her property. It speaks against the innocent bystander narrative where white women were just these innocent bystanders to our oppression. They were oppressed too. They were just in the house, so sad and oppressed. Like, no, black men were their property. All right, Auntie Julian, what's going on, sister? Good night.
Good night, host, good night, panel. I was watching this clip the other day with Fantasia, right? Fantasia went to this place for her son's birthday. She rent this Airbnb, this place where they could get away from home just to spend time with families and friends at this place. But apparently, when they went there, the neighbors have a problem with it because, for say, it was that type of community that none of our kind cannot be in that situation, in that surrounding. And it was absurd because they had was to pack up and leave. And she is a celebrity. And if they do not care about the grassroots, how they are going to respect the celebrities and their families?
Yeah.
That for sure say we have to stay in our own corner, in our own lane at every given time. Because if we are going to go into a space where we don't feel welcome and it's a problem, then we have to keep to ourselves and in our own space with our own nation.
Yeah, we got
Because
Stockholm syndrome.
because the disrespect that we are going through now, we are getting it from way back when, from our foreparents' time until now, where we said the slavery is abolished, but slavery is not abolished.
Appreciate you, Gene. Auntie, I think your connection went out. Don't forget to keep tapping the screen, y'all. We're trying to get to the first 50K. Keep tapping like. Let's get to 50K likes. If we can't do it, I'm about to turn the comments off till we get there. I think Auntie had to go. But yeah, let's get to 50K. I'll give it 5 minutes. Appreciate y'all. Elisheba, give us your age, race, and pronouns, please.
My pronouns are she, her. I'm older than 18, and what else?
Your pronouns. Oh, you said your pronouns. Yeah, your race.
And I am African American.
All right. Talk to us.
Okay. I was looking at the questions, and the first one: do interracial relationships benefit the Black community? And I don't think so. I don't. I mean, I'm not against interracial relationships. because I feel people love who they love. They get to choose who they want to be with. That's not my business. But I feel like as our communities, it doesn't help them. And can non-Black parents raise Black children? No, because they don't know what it means to be Black in this country. And they don't understand that. And that's why they look at things differently than we do. If we see situations that has happened, like the police killing our men, murdering our men, they look at it differently. Well, he should have did this or he should have did that, not understanding that as soon as they saw that his skin color, their hand went to their gun. And after that, it really wouldn't have mattered what he did. What's his name? Philip Castell, the young man that was in a car and they shot him in front of his daughter and his wife. He didn't do anything. So it's some things that they don't understand. And I say that because that's why I couldn't be with someone that's not my nationality. Because the first time one of those situations happened and he started trying to justify it, the relationship would be over. And so I don't think that they really benefit us. And I don't, from what I've seen, I haven't seen I've seen some non-Black people that have, died with the movement, with Martin Luther King and stuff. I've read that. And so I think some of them can be pro-Black, but not at the expense of their
That's
own.
not pro-Black.
What does it say? Can a non-Black person be, what is that?
You said that they were unalived. Please, when you're using words about,
Right,
like
unalive.
try to use other words. Yeah.
Okay.
So people that were unalived with MLK are not pro-Black people just because they were there.
Right. Okay. And can BLK and YT culture peacefully coexist? It hasn't been. It hasn't been. We've had, from what I've seen in history, we've had to acclimate. We've had to, every time a movement was started in this country that was supposed to give us rights or try to help or influence rights, it didn't do that. And it didn't do that because it was covertly intercepted by someone who was non-BLK. Okay, just like the Black Lives Matter movement. I would tell people, I believe Black Lives Matter, but I don't support that movement because when I read the mission statement didn't have anything to do with us. And those people that were in charge when they got the money, they didn't even give it to the families of the people who were unalived. So I think we individually need to put things in place and operate from that individually, because when we entrust our destiny to other people, it never works out well for us. Okay, and the reason why I feel this way about this is because I know I've done a lot of studying, and there was a premise which YT people operated from, which is called manifest destiny, which is a core premise that they feel it is their destiny to take over. And this is why everywhere they go, they take over, and they think that it's okay. So, and racism, and this is where we make the mistake. Racism is not hatred. Racism is a created system that keeps power and prosperity firmly in the hands of the dominant nationality. And that's why we make a mistake when we have them as friends and we think that they're not racist, or we date them or marry them and we think, well, they married me, they must not be racist. But what we don't understand is all of those things do not change the dynamics of their position. And even if one of our men marry one of their women, because just like we just saw, all she has to do is pick up the phone, and who has the power is clearly known. So I don't see that really being the solution. The solution in any relationship is for both people to be on equal standing. And then that creates equal respect. But our people are never allowed to get there. And every time we try to get there, there's all these obstacles being thrown in our way. And so I think we need to develop something, and we need to do it amongst ourselves, but even that has a tendency to be problematic, because we have people among ourselves that are like plants to destroy anything that we attempt to do. There's a documentary called 13th on Netflix, and it's really good to watch. But one of the things that they said that I have never forgotten, they said every group that has tried to bring balance and bring forth our rights in America, there has always been a plant in that group so that it doesn't succeed. And I believe that. So that's how I see that. I wanted to read something too, because I did a paper, we had to do a paper on the president, and I did a paper on JFK. And I think he was the only president that was maybe close to desiring to really want something for us. We didn't know, at least I didn't know. Martin Luther King, they put him in prison one time. And it was like on the hush. And JFK sent his brother Robert to get him out. And he said this, he's the only president that we've ever had that just blatantly discussed the civil rights movement. He was the only one that specifically, addressed it. And one of the things that he said was, this is not a partisan issue. This is not a legal or legislative issue alone. It is better to settle these matters in courts than on streets, and new laws are needed at every level. But law alone cannot make men see right. We are confronting a primary moral issue. And that's what it is. It's a moral issue. They inherently do not see us as equal. They do not see us. In order for them to see us as equal, then they would have to acknowledge that what their people do and have done to our people was so horrific that it wasn't even human. And they're not going to do that. So they have to justify that in our minds, and they have to, in their minds, and they have to justify that before other countries. That's why they publicize all of the negatives about us, to make us look a certain way to other countries. And that's just the way I see it.
That was interesting. There was plenty. I'm sure there were plenty of quotes you could have got from a brother on the topic. I'm more of the opinion of Malcolm X when it comes to JFK. But I think he tried his best, I guess.
Well, I follow a lot of the brothers, but I've always felt that, no one in their nationality has ever even tried to change anything.
Right.
Choose that, because even if one of their own tries to change something, they get rid of him. Because that wouldn't kill him. They got rid of him, and so if they're willing to kill one of their own.
Please use unalive, sister.
I'm sorry, to unalive one of our own, then where do you think that puts us? So that's why I used him,
Can I say something real quick about the relationships, and if they're made from a equal standing, with the equality thing in relationships, I think it's very important that we understand the power dynamics with white women, and how that sometimes, and what I've learned is they don't date, they prefer black men because in with black men, or if they date black women, they are then the power holder. So there can't really be a standing in a relationship of equality when white women knowingly know that they hold the power in that relationship. And also, I think it's something that we need to also understand in these relationships. Once the black, usually black men, uh, passes away, or whatever, Kobe Bryant, for instance, that money that he created and generated is no longer going to be part of the black community in any way. The wife will take it and distribute it how she sees fit, and they do not give it to the black community. They don't support the black community. They don't do any of that. So I just wanted to bring that awareness into the conversation. And if Elishiba is interested, she could read this book, and it can kind of give you a little insight on that power dynamic.
Okay. I thought you might want to respond to that, but all right. Yeah. So bringing the discussion back around to interracial relationships, um, I want brothers and sisters to pick our standards up off the floor, because we're so used to getting treated bad. It's like we're like that, like somebody that's so insecure that when someone tells them thank you for doing something, or says they're sorry for stepping on their toes, they're just like, oh, you like me, oh, like the insecurity. We gotta stop when people conflate anti-racism with pro-blackness. Appreciate you, Tia. When people conflate anti-racism with pro-blackness, it just shows me how low we have the bar set, because just marching with Martin Luther King don't make you pro-black. I mean, you love black people. It means you're anti-racist. My wife, if I, were one of my guests that come up here with them kind of wives, well, someone will come up here and say, well, my wife knows how to do our daughter's hair, and she cares about doing a black girl's hair. That don't make them pro-black, y'all. Like we have the bar set so low that an ounce of humanity makes us think that they care about us. And it's sad. It's sad. Like the more I do this work, I'm just, I'm like, it's not sad for me. Like, I'm not sad hearing it. It's sad to see someone think this, like, insecure of our people, where it's just like, yeah, someone said the bar is in hell. I know that's right, Bubba. That's how it feels. Like the bar is in hell. And my purpose on this live purpose today, as the 5th day of Kwanzaa, Nia is the principal purpose, and reciprocating the vocations of our individual selves into something that's beneficial for the community is the goal. But my purpose with my lives is to help us raise the bar just a little bit more and start thinking more about how we want to build ourselves up. We can't do that with people that look like our oppressor during our oppression. We can't do that with them yet. We're too quick in a rush to say, even though we're still being oppressed, these people can be pro us. Like, No, we are still being oppressed. If they are pro us, even if they do really, 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 really like us, then the best thing that they can do is work against what is harming us in their communities, because their communities are harming us. Afro Pessimism is a book by Frank D. Wilderson that talks about how Black oppression worldwide is the root of all oppression worldwide. We're the lab rats for oppression that everyone else's oppression is based on, to the point where people come here and thank us for their civil liberties and rights that they've gained from our movements, as if we did it for them. And we didn't. We did it for us. It's just we're at the bottom so far down that when we stand up an inch, everyone else above us comes up too. So, it's unfortunate, but we gotta gatekeep a little bit of pro-Blackness, just a little bit, just have a little self-esteem to know that just because someone is against you getting mistreated doesn't mean they are for your progress in a competition against even their own community. But I'm gonna stop there.
I saw something in the Malcolm X movie that I loved. I thought it was very interesting. He was going into a college to give a speech, and a young YT woman came up to him and was like, I'm for your cause. I believe what you're doing and all of that. What can I do to help you? And he said nothing. And he just kept walking, because you can't help me with this when the people who are doing this are your people, because you're only going to go so far.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we have to do. We're so busy trying to show that we're not racist, in a sense, that we're harming ourselves. I live in Texas, and Nat Turner, when he did what he did during the time of slavery, they made a law in the southern states that it was illegal for us to talk amongst ourselves. Like, if I couldn't talk to you on the street, just me and you, because they thought we were planning something. And it was so funny when I got out here to Texas and I was working at my job. I was working at the state during that time. And I could be standing up there talking to Maritza, and YT people would come out, they wouldn't say anything. I could be talking to Lucy Lou, they wouldn't say anything. I could be talking to Sally, they wouldn't say anything. But soon as they saw me talking to a sister, oh, this looked like trouble. And at first I just laughed it off, but then I began to see it all the time. And I was like, wait a minute. So one day we were in the cafeteria and I just called him on it. I said, why does this look like trouble? Oh, I didn't mean it. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. But you didn't think I would call you on it. And I see that now where I live now in Texas. I live in one of the suburbs of Houston. And I go to exercise every morning. And if I'm standing up there talking to a sister about something, here they come. It never fails. Here they come, wanting to be in the they'll come in and interject themselves into the conversation, talking about something that's completely off topic. And that's offensive to me. What makes you feel that you have the right to do that? We can't even communicate amongst ourselves, but our people are so busy trying to be accepted. And I think that is a big problem. I'm not trying to be accepted by anybody. I'm living my life. I was raised to live a life of integrity, and I could care less if you accept me or not. That doesn't matter to me. But it seems that we do this little, not all of us, but some of us do this little thing where we want to be accepted. If we could be accepted, and especially in like Hollywood and places like that, they sell their souls to be accepted and to have money, and in the end, it's just not going to work out well for them.
Well, I heard that. All right, y'all. Let me go to the next guest. CB Librarian, what's going on?
Oh, hey, yeah.
Peace.
So, do interracial relationships benefit the Black community? Nope. Can non-Black parents raise pro-Black children? Nope. Can a non-Black person be pro-Black? Nope. They can be anti-racist. Can Black and white culture peacefully coexist? Nope, never have.
All right. Shout out to CP Librarian keeping it on code. Julian, you got cut off earlier. You still here with us?
Yes, as I was saying, I agree totally with what Cece said because of what we are going through now. Back in the days when our grandparents was on the farms, when they were having the whip over their backs on the farms to do the job, and now we still live in that era. It's not better than it, it is the same thing we are going through right now
Mm-hmm.
because it's in Jamaica. I see if there's a you go into a business place, right, to get a job, right, and you see that they have these eye color persons, and first say you want to shake their hands and stuff like that. After you shake their hands, they go to the bathroom and wash their hands, and then what they use some alcohol system to wipe off them hand. Do that because them still have that narrative. We say, boy,
Mm-hmm.
them stuff than us. So it is time for us not to stoop so low anymore, to stoop to their level. We have to stand up as sisters and brothers now in
Mm-hmm.
our own space. Than because what I see happening in America and England, it is totally wrong. Totally wrong. We are all human beings. We are all human beings. We are not animals for them to treat us like that. So I rather stay in my own lane and in my own space and deal with my fellow black persons. Because if I'm going to friend with a different color person and he's going to treat me that way, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. The embarrassment, the torturing, I don't like it. And that is what is happening. It playing out every day in our faces.
Mm-hmm. Well, I heard that. That's true, Auntie. Um, I did you answer the questions up there? You want to answer the questions?
But I said no for everything. No for everything up there.
Okay.
No.
All right. Shout out to Auntie. All right. Well, thanks for sharing that with us, Auntie. Appreciate your wisdom. We'll go to the next guest. Black Swan. What's going on, Queen?
I'm doing well. How are you, Brother Legend?
I'm well. Talk to us.
All right. So, age 33, race is Black, pronouns she, her. Do interracial relationships benefit the Black community? No, absolutely not. Just, I usually say the same thing about them doing only enough advocacy for their Black partner, just to get into bed with their Black partner. But I take it back. And the reason why is because, we've been in so many different discussions with people that are in interracial relationships. And when I talk to the YT partner and ask them, do they know what the school to prison pipeline is? Do you know what redlining is? Do you know what the infant mortality rate is for Black women? They have no clue. They don't care.
They don't care.
They're not going to care.
They only care about the penetration,
That's it.
or Yeah.
That's literally it. It's a fetishization, and 100% it is. And I think that a lot of times they don't even pay attention to the experiences that their partner is going through. Walking with their partner just in public, if it's a YT woman and a large Black man, let's say he's very tall, right? We know what's going to happen when they're walking out and about in society. She's not paying attention to it. She doesn't care. Because in her mind, right, she's got this man that she's fetishizing. So there's two different things going on, two completely different worlds side by side. And she doesn't ever care, or he doesn't ever care, to really truly pay attention to the next one. You always have to diminish yourself when you're in that type of relationship and that type of dynamic to them. And so no, absolutely not. Can non-Black parents raise pro-Black children? No, they can't. They don't understand the experience, and pro-Blackness is not for them. I think that a lot of times you find that the child goes on their own journey to be pro-Black. But many times when you're the product of that type of relationship, because they're not doing the work to understand what their child is going to go through, they can't teach their child these things. There's no way. We ask them the questions and they don't even know what's going on. Or they come to us crying, saying, I don't know how to raise my child in this world. I don't know what to do. We've had it so many times, I even like where I grew up, it was predominantly YT, but there were a few interracial relationships. And I remember, when I look back, at least at the time, I didn't really recognize it. But when I look back, I just remember the simplest of things, not even taking care of their hair, nothing, none of those things. Like not even making sure that they were lotioned up properly, or, you know what I'm saying? Like even the way that they interacted, I remember having discussions with them as a child, the children, and they at that time, they realized that something was off. Right? Like they would say things like, I don't know which one to pick. Right? They're Black, but they weren't getting that from their parents. So absolutely not. Absolutely not. Can a non-Black person be pro-Black? No. That movement is not for them. It has nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with us and building our community up. Void of them. It's not something that they would understand. It's not something that they need to be a part of. Anytime they come around, it's danger. Anytime they come around, it's violence. Anytime they come around, it's destruction. I don't want to say too much because I'm probably ruffling some feathers right now. So I'll go on to the next one. Can Black and white culture peacefully coexist? Absolutely not. Until someone comes to me and tells me that infant mortality rate has gone down, hell no. Nope.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Our education system, everything. And this is the thing that frustrates me when we have discussions about racism, is that it's always diminished down to actions, treatment, right? They smiled to me. They were nice to me. They weren't rude. They said that they feel bad for what's going on. That doesn't matter. That's a drop in the ocean, right? Like these systems are still happening. And I always give this analogy. I won't give the analogy because it might trigger some people, but I'll use the saying, silence is compliance. You're compliant in the system. You participate in the system. Just because you individually aren't causing harm to me, you still benefit. And as long as you look at me and you benefit, and Black women can't give birth to children without unaliving, then no, we'll never be able to peacefully coexist. If we cannot birth our children safely, then no, absolutely not. Until that changes, no. That's how I feel. And I'll land there.
I heard that. Appreciate that word. That's that's a very I think reasonable way to put it, to be honest. It can't be peaceful if peace includes violence of of our women, and giving birth is part of life. So if peace comes with violence, it's not peace. So I think there's a quote from Dr. King, and I always mess this quote up. He said, what did he say? Negative peace is the absence of, what did he say? Negative peace is the I forget. Negative peace is the absence of violence. Positive peace is the presence of justice, or something like that. It's something like that. But justice is required for positive peace. Negative peace. Yeah, someone's looking. Oh, the absence of tension. There you go. Negative peace is the absence of tension. Positive peace is the presence of justice. There we go. Thank you, Laura, for that. Appreciate you. Yes, absolutely. All right. And we'll go to the next guest. Kay, what's going on, sister?
Hey, what's up? Thank you for having me. Hope everybody's doing all right on the panel.
Yeah.
Okay. 24, black biracial. What's the last one? Oh, she, her. I'm sorry. Yeah. I
Absolutely.
almost
Yeah,
forgot.
go ahead, sister.
Oh, because I forget. I was like, dang, I don't never do that. Actually, let me do it. Okay. I wanted to say something else, but all my answers to these are no, easily. Short and sweet. Black Swan. She basically gave y'all a blueprint to understand all of that. But I wanted to say how you were saying a little bit earlier about how the bar is set in hell. And I'm trying to figure out why everybody getting shovels because it seems to be a level of regression. Like,
Yeah.
I know a lot of people. I was talking to some of my other friends too about this because it's like we can't even be happy for ourselves sometimes to see each other elevate, right? And we're calling it the 2008 Toyota Corolla effect because if you got, I don't want to say blessed because I think of it in a different way, but if someone perhaps gifted you a Toyota Corolla 2008, everybody would be super happy for you, right? They'd be like, "Oh, that's great, this and that." But let's take the same person and somebody gift them a 2023 McLaren or a Tesla. And now we have people coming at them, hating for having this blessing seemingly that they feel like they should have gotten but didn't, right? It's like we can't let ourselves get too past what we think we deserve, right? And I just don't understand why we do that to each other because it's already hard enough. And then I think about the terminology we use to each other. Like you said, I am a firm believer, and a lot of people might not agree, but I have like a strong tie with language, and I feel like words have a lot of value, like intrinsically but also externally with us, how we communicate. So I was like, the fact that people say I'm sorry, I'm like, to me, that's just weird because it just gives the person who wronged you kind of the rite of passage to be forgiven. And I just don't understand that because I feel like the correct, representation of you making a mistake is saying that I take accountability. You feel me? I take accountability. I did that. And I am commending to you that I am going to be better moving forward, right? Or the fact that when someone gives us a compliment, we say thank you as if that person has done something for us other than stating the obvious, correct? I try to change my language. I'm like, you know what? I feel very flattered. But I'm not gonna thank you because you're stating the obvious. My light shines bright, and I already know that. But it's them trying to put you on a certain level, and I'm like, we do that so much to ourselves that we don't understand, and we just negate how we feel and belittle each other when we see that someone is becoming or doing something we wish we had done or felt like we couldn't do. And I just hate that we go through that, but I know it's the system of backlash that we've lived through. Because I mean, we really are feeling the recoil and effects of slavery. Like Stockholm syndrome is real. As you
Yeah.
can see that we're integrating so fast into this burning house, as some people would say. And it's just, it's just sad. It's like we really are lost. And, it's kind of like when somebody commits, suicide, right? After, realizing years later when they were raped how it really affected them. And they don't realize until it's nearly too late, like maybe I should have gotten some deep help with this. I thought I was okay. Because I think about when we first got, you know, emancipated, and I put that in quotes because we know this was not a cordial event for everyone to go in the same way at the same
Mm,
time. But it's like we were seemingly doing better almost immediately after being released, you know? We started growing watermelons, having farms, and then what do they do to us? Use that as a symbol of our oppression and poverty. You know? It's
mm-hmm,
just it just gets me, you know, and you have to think about it deeper, but it's just more sad that a lot of brothers and sisters won't get that type of education, you know, especially with these topics up here, integration, like it's just, you know, just sad. But I just wanted to remark on that what you were saying a little bit earlier, because I just,
mm-hmm,
you know, I was just thinking about that. I'm like, man, it's just I really want us to elevate, and I'm optimistic, but I have to be realistic because I have to look at what's the reality of how people really are right now. As much as we're
mm-hmm.
trying to do, there's also as much combating our efforts to elevate and move forward. So, you know.
Yeah, we have what Marcus Garvey calls a low racial self-esteem, and that's uh, that's part of worldwide how we treat people outside the community. When they just show us a little bit of humanity, we act out of that low self-esteem. Um, Appreciate you, Kay, as always. We'll go to the next guest. Hotspot, could you give us your age, race, and pronouns, please?
Um, my age, I'm 34.
Mm-hmm.
My race, a black Bahamian Haitian American, and my pronoun is him, his.
Okay. Could you eat later, or do you want to come back up when you're done?
Yeah, I'm done eating. So, what do you want? What are you gonna do? Ask me the questions.
Yeah. Answer the questions behind.
All right. Do do interracial relationships benefit the black community? Well, I would say because interracial. Well, I'd say kind of not. Because it like kind of like disintegrates the black race and like kind of make us less of us, but it kind of could also because when we mix it up and we have children, little mixed kids, that breaks like a bridge between us, but even though they're still considered black. So that's like it probably could and probably can't. It's just different scenarios that it probably has a positive, and some scenarios it has a negative on the black. So I can't have a straight answer on that. Sometimey. Can non-black parents raise what do I say? Pro? I can't see my
Pro
blocking.
black
My
children.
name's blocking it. Pro children?
Pro black children.
Can non-black? Yes, they could because in actuality, it is inside who somebody really is. You know what I mean? Now, we could say basically they can't because they're inherently racist because they're this color and that color.
I'm sorry, y'all. I can't let him chomp in the ear of 230 people. That is a level of arrogance that I just can't rock with. Like, I just can't rock with that. I'm sorry. That's not going to happen. Oh, we're over 50K likes. I'll turn back on the chat. Um, I'm not even sure if that was going to be a productive discussion or not, but like that, yeah, that was very rude. I'll put it that way. But it takes a lot of ego to sit on a live. There's 230 people in here, and you're just gonna open mouth chew on chips. Like,
And salt and vinegar at that, bruh. Like,
how
I
you
just
know it's
knew.
salt and vinegar?
I don't know, because the way it just sounded like it burned. Like, he was like, you know how when you have to get
Yeah.
your breath a little bit? Hey, bruh, I'm a food connoisseur. Look, I just
Like, you're
heard.
gonna breathe out your mouth while eating chips on a live. That's wild.
Say them wasn't salt and vinegar. They must have been hot.
Yeah. That was wild. That's a level of arrogance. It's almost borderline sociopathic. Like you that lacks empathy for the space that you're in with other people. Like that's kind of wild. I'm good on that. Let's go to the next guest. Tia, what's going on, sister?
Hey, good night, everybody.
Good night. Good night.
There was really just one question I wanted to speak to, but I guess for the sake of the room, I'll just simply run through them all. Yeah, I saw her this morning teed up. I haven't talked to her in a couple hours though. Do they interracial relationships benefit the community? Absolutely not. Can Black parents raise pro-Black children? This is the one that I kind of wanted to just add a little something to. No, but the extra something I wanted to add to this is that before children do what you say, they do what you do. So not only can the non-Black person not raise the pro-Black child, but neither can the Black one in that scenario, because they're gonna do what you do before they do what you say. And then
Wait, I'm not sure what you mean by that.
so if you dated out, why would a child think that they are going to prioritize?
Oh, you're saying the Black parent in the interracial relationship can also not do it.
Right.
Oh, do you mean do when they say do as I say and not as I do? But the
Yes.
reality is they're gonna do as you do, not as you
Exactly.
say. Yeah,
Yes.
I get you.
And
Okay.
always before a child will ever do what you say, they're going to do what you do. The doing what you say part comes later in life, but they're going to do what you say first. And if you try or do what you do first, and if you're doing something or you're telling them something that you're not doing, they're going to buck you every single time. Why are you telling me to do something that you don't even do? So that's why the Black person can't raise a poor Black child and the non-Black person can't do it because they're not Black.
Okay.
And then I think, what is the next one? Can a non-Black person be? Oh yeah, that's a no. The rest of them I knows. I'm done.
All right. Thank you for that added nuance, Tia. Appreciate it. Timothy, what's going on, brother?
Hey, what's going on, King? What's going on, Kings and Queens?
Peace.
Yeah.
Talk to us.
Oh wait, Timothy, I was looking for you earlier. I
Oh
knew
boy.
that.
What he do?
I was
What-
calling his name. I was like, "Where is Timothy when you need him?"
What he do?
Because
I invoked him.
I had like 100,000-foot view, but you know Timothy could get real granular on certain things, and I was like, "Where the hell is Timothy when you need this man?"
God, what was the topic? What was happening?
There was a young Black man who was asking like some thoughtful questions, and I think this was in CB's room, but I can't remember what the exact question was, but he wanted to get some examples of when like some things have been somebody brought up like a ancient Egyptian society and like debunking some things that YT people have told about that. And I was like, I don't have the details, but I know like a very high level view. And then someone was like, he was like, well, can you suggest some books? And CB was like, I can like send me a message and I'll put together a list for you. But then I told him about Sheikh Anta Diop, and kind of high level explain that book. But I was really like, I wish Timothy was here because he could have like gone into the details that I can't really like do.
Yeah, I think we were talking about culture appropriation and how white people took the knowledge and stuff like that, and Timothy speaks extensively on that.
Oh yeah, like it's yeah, and not to what's change the topic, but yeah, like it's even when you look at the artifacts at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, you can literally see just in their daily hygiene tools just how much was copied from ancient Kemetic like daily like life and their items that they would use daily, like that has been transitioned over to European culture, and we think it's European culture. Like the scalpel, that used to be a whole razor blade back in the day. Like they legit took everything and they were like, oh, these are really good ideas. Okay, let's make sure that the Black people don't know about these ideas anymore, and let's just take them for ourselves, and then let's pretend like we invented them. So it's a whole, it gets deep, very deep.
My thing about Cleopatra is a lot of people love reminding that Cleopatra came from a Greek line, Ptolemy, and how their family was from Greece and all this other stuff. So my the version of the story that I heard, and maybe Timothy, more about this, was that Ptolemy had a Egyptian black wife that he married when he took the throne in Egypt, because that was the customary tradition, was that when you take over a kingdom, you marry one of the highborn queens in that kingdom. Appreciate the gifts, Natasha. But you know what I'm saying? So that, based off that, I would assume Cleopatra was mixed race. But you know what I'm saying? Maybe she could have been a lighter skinned mixed race person. She could have looked like Zendaya. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that don't make her white.
Yeah,
But
we don't really, like, historically, we don't really 100% know beyond the shadow of a doubt. But we do very much so know that during that time period in which Cleopatra became the ruler of Egypt, that everybody didn't have a question as to who the original Kemites were. Like, they knew. They knew very clearly, because there was plenty of black people that were walking around normally, and literally Herodotus was already in
right.
Egypt during that time period, and he was already talking about how,
Yeah.
well, not during that time period. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but earlier, right?
Right, yeah, like it was like 440s BCE, but that's only like a 300 or 400 year difference. Like, so, like, basically, it didn't really change much. Like, yeah, so he knew. So imagine, like, the United States, but we know that the demographic of people of European ancestry, like, they began to overshadow indigenous Americans. But we also know that, like, generally speaking, the demographics have sort of kind of slightly changed as time has passed, but still you can see very clearly that obviously there are people of African ancestry here. So it's like, it's, you can kind of, of course, different historical events can happen, but you can kind of, like, use that as an example to realize that, oh, okay, 400 years isn't really that big of a difference to, like, there's some times where things can change in 100 years, or sometimes things don't change for 2000. So it's like, it depends on
And
what
but
happens.
my thing is, yeah, like, and then my thing is, like, even to the people that will say that she's Greek, like, even if she was 100% Greek, my thing is, even if you want to believe that, then you're still saying she's not from Egypt. Like, that's not part of what you can use as evidence to say that Egyptian people were white, because if Cleopatra was Greek, she's not Egyptian. Like, or actually Egyptian might be the word for it for them, but she was not Kemetic. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's basically, you're just saying she was a colonizer.
Yeah,
And
like,
it's like,
she
A quick
ultimately,
question. A
the way
quick
that,
question. I'm glad you're here. So, mixed race. People say she's mixed race, but back then, I don't think race was even a
oh
concepted.
yeah, we know, yeah, that we're looking at the past through a modern lens when we put race into their social
Right.
category.
oh
So,
yeah,
what I'm
Yeah.
wondering, Timothy, was her conception? Do you believe her conception was a power move?
I think that oftentimes, yeah, there's several, well, for her specifically, I'd still have to read up a little bit more in depth on her background and storyline, because personally I do think that she was mixed, just because of the fact that she, um like, had a well-known history of attempting to be embraced by ancient Kemetic culture. So it's
Yeah.
like, I'm thinking, all right, so the only time I've ever seen anybody, like, push for embracing that side of their culture, and especially we know that Kemet was a Black African civilization, Like the only time I've ever seen that is someone who has been like that is biologically or genetically tied to that. And the only other person actually outside of that was maybe Alexander. Alexander the Great was like he sang the praises of ancient Kemet like all the time. Like he was, oh man, that's part of the reason why he even went to Egypt in the first place. And
Right.
actually, yeah, I would say he's the only ruler of like not of African descent that ever actually benefited Egypt by coming into it, because he went there for the purpose of restoring it back to all the beautiful and legendary tales that he had heard growing up. So
I mean, I'd be careful saying that, but
okay, well then yeah,
I'd be careful. I'd be careful. That's not what John Henry Clark says, but
oh,
I hear you.
gotcha.
I hear
Okay,
you. I
well
mean,
then
he
yeah,
might have had some better intentions.
then take what I
Yeah,
say with a grain of salt in that one, because
I hear you.
yeah. But I'm sorry. Did I answer your question, librarian, or was that like did I just run off on a tangent?
You got it. It gives me a good idea of really what I'm trying to understand with that all of that those relations back then.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
We got a
Yeah,
guest that wants to come up. Anybody mind dropping? Y'all can come back up if you want to hang around.
yeah. I mean, you want me to drop King so we can allow somebody to. Yeah.
If you cool. Oh, okay. All right. Now they dropped.
Okay.
Oh, now the person's gone. I hate it when they do that.
Oh,
I
librarian.
know. I
Come
hate it
back.
I hate it when people do that. Like if you're gonna request, okay, there she is. Okay, all right.
How far I can
All right. Give us a moment, Mariah. Were you finished, Timothy?
Oh, I was gonna answer the questions, but yeah, it's all good. We can move on. Yeah, talk a lot.
Okay. Natasha, what's going on?
Hi there, King. How are you today?
Peace. I'm well. Go
I
ahead and answer some of the questions for us. Talk to us.
and I don't want to let's be clear about geography in those times. And somebody told me that Tim is biracial, but I be clear, people. Do your research, and Google and Wikipedia is not research. Let me make that clear. Go to a library, look up some archives, look up geography wise what was happening back in the days of Cleopatra. Um, you have people that come up here and say this and that about the history, but we're different. We're a diverse community, and the farther away we are from Africa, the lighter it gets. So let's be clear about our history. They're trying to dilute who we are and our contributions to this society, beginning with ancient times, beginning with how the political and how the Moors created the political system and all this, and white people have to be put in front and center, and it's just simply not true. Now, I'm not going to go into how I know because I wasn't there, but I do understand knocking on 70's door that I got a sit down by my 105-year-old grandmother to tell us some of our stories, even our stories from recent history from the 1900s on. She was born in 1889, my grandmother, my great grandmother, and so I was blessed to hear some of our African history that are definitely not in any typical history books in modern day. So I want you and Big Legend. A lot of people I know, a lot of young people I know. I have 17 grandkids. 15 of them follow you. 15 of them sneaking in your Discord. No, they but are not old enough. A couple of them, and so I think it's important for if you're going to get information and people are going to have oppositional views on what the topic is, but make sure we tell our young people to go research the history because it's there to be found. They're trying to erase our history. They are. And if
Mm-hmm.
we don't teach it to our kids, they probably won't be taught. So I am just requesting when you have people come up here and make these, geographically, that's just not how it worked back then. And if you looked at old maps and old Bibles and just track even just the
Could you speak
the
directly to
30
what you're talking about?
years.
Because I don't even know what you're talking about. You
I'm
said
just talking about
like
he was
you sound
talking
like you heard something
about
that is
Cleopatra.
untrue.
Well, he was saying some things about Cleopatra and that she was Greek and that she was this, that, and the other. And it's
Mm-hmm.
simply if you follow the geographical path that she went, she couldn't be possibly anything but African.
Depends on which
And
Cleopatra you're
and,
talking
and I
about.
guess my thing is, and I can go through some other things because we've seen all the movies and stuff, and there's so many inaccuracies in a lot of the movies depicting Cleopatra. That's not, it should be criminal. But what I came up here to implore is that educate ourselves on our history, because Cleopatra belongs to us, and it's a part of our story. And I just would like for just people just don't take people's word verbatim. And when they pull out Google and Wikipedia and what.org or whatever, no, do the work. And if you don't know, if you don't know the facts, learn them. Go to a library. Go
Okay,
through some
all right,
archives. Look at
Miss
some
Brown,
microfiche.
Miss Brown. Okay,
I'm
hold on
sorry.
now. There's 4 Cleopatras. All right, one of them had a Greek father. His name was Ptolemy. Starts with a P. Ptolemy.
Hmm.
If someone else got it spelled differently, then let me know. But Ptolemy was a general in Alexander's army from where Alexander was from, and this was Cleopatra's father. So the reason he was saying that she was of mixed race is because, according to the scholars that I've read, when Ptolemy was made general and Alexander's army took over Egypt, um, he married. Well, basically Alexander gave him Egypt to control and be, the king or the governor over. And uh, Ptolemy married into the royal bloodline because that was the tradition of Egypt. Is all across Africa. If you're taken over by another tribe comes in, what they do is, so that there's no fighting from the people that are indigenous to that land, is you marry into the royal family, and then now you have a wife from here. The thing is, where it gets weird is, some people say that Ptolemy never had a child with that wife, and instead had a child with a Greek woman to have Cleopatra. And then some people believe that Ptolemy did have a child with that wife, and that Cleopatra was mixed race. So either way, though, we know that her father was European, because that's how Egypt got its name, right? Before that, it was Kemet. Egypt is a Greek word. So, they had taken over at that time.
Again, legend. We need to get again to look geography wise where Greece was a part of before the organized maps was created. And I don't want to go too far with that because I'm not going to sit here and go back and forth or argue with anybody on the situation. But I'm just imploring people to just don't look at things at face value because and get the information because I'm not going to spread out stuff what I think I know from my research and my studies being almost 70 years on this earth. And
I think
being traveled
Your mic is out.
and stuff. And so I've learned some things, and that's why I'm
Brother
employed.
Legend, we can't hear you. Brother Legend, your mic is out.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, but no, I understand where you're coming from, Queen. Like yes, it is very.
I got my education from black scholars. I didn't get my education from white teachers in school. So I'm going based off that research. So I wish you could enlighten us with what you know instead of keep saying like, oh, listen, I don't want to argue with nobody. Don't do that. Go ahead and tell us what you know. Like share information, Queen.
I'm just saying we've gotten assorted viewpoints of Cleopatra. We like you said, you know that there's four. Again, I guess
if you heard something different, just let us know what it was, because I want to know the other story. I haven't heard. That's not the story that the Pan African scholars that I follow said. Like maybe someone said something different. I just didn't hear it. Is that Cleopatra? I mean, of course, there was no such thing as race back then, so there was no such thing as a black woman back then. But if she were alive today, that's what we would call her. It's just
yeah. Scholars that you got your information from, Legend?
Dr. John Henry Clark is the first one that comes to mind.
Anyone older than him?
Older than John Henry Clark? That's pretty old. John Henry Clark, like was old during the days of Malcolm X. Like he was already old in the old 70s TV shows he was in.
Malcolm X old?
Wasn't he born in what year was Malcolm X born? Like 27 or something, right? Am I tripping? What year is Malcolm X born? Like 30 something?
My father was born in
Malcolm X
1920.
He was born in 1925. Malcolm X was born in
1925. Okay, yeah, I knew it was in the 20s. So
okay,
that's old enough. I mean, why does it matter how old they are?
It matters. The history matters, and where the history is coming from matters.
If it's coming from John Henry Clark, I trust it. I'm gonna be honest. Like that man.
Don't get me wrong, Legend. I admire the man. Don't get me wrong. But I'm just saying there are other researchers that are black researchers.
But see, that's what I'm saying. You keep not telling us the information, but you want to argue about how old people are. Tell us what you know. What's the other narrative? If you don't know, then it's okay. We'll move on. But you keep saying but you don't know, but I know. I'm not going to tell you, but there's older people you should listen to, and it's like, just tell us what it is.
No, that's okay. That's not my intention. I asked you how old he was to determine if there were any other older scholars that you researched. That's the only reason why I asked that question. This is not an argument over age, but this is an argument over content and what we're learning. And I'm not saying I respect the guy. Don't get me wrong.
Auntie, you don't have to defend any of that. Just tell us what you know, please. Just tell us what you know. What do you know that's different? Please enlighten us.
Again, geographically.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not going to go into detail because I want you all to do your own research. So I'm not going to go into that big of a detail just to say that, you're saying that you got your research saying that there's 4 different Cleopatras and that maybe she was biracial or maybe she was, had Kemet, half Greek, had this. And I'm saying, look at the geographical.
Give us a source then.
And then.
Give us a source.
On that.
Give us a source. What book did you read?
Pardon me?
What book give us a source that we can look up?
Well, there's a couple of handful of things that I feel like both can be right in it. That's why it's kind of that's why so many scholars debate whether or not she was just full African versus whether or not she was mixed race African, or whether or not she was Greek. But obviously, it's less likely that she was just straight Greek because, she had a very deliberate like desire to be a part of and be accepted by ancient Kemetic culture.
Right.
So, yeah, so I mean, it definitely heavily suggests that she was more so mixed race African because we know the bloodline that she came from was more so,
African.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, like there's truth in both of it because there's even I believe, being a European archaeologist or a European scientist who had conducted a study where they believe that they have found the remains of her sister. And based off of the bone structure of her sister, they believe that her sister was actually part African. So they believe that just based off of that, that Cleopatra must have also been part African as well. So that's generally what they kind of believe. But also then again, there's no real 100% way to really definitively prove that unless we can actually find Cleopatra's like direct descendants to be able to test them and so on and so forth. So it's like there's accuracy on both sides of the argument because even in Greek sources, like you'll hear them say that like, hey, we know who the Kemites are. The Kemites look, and of course at this time they were using the word Egypt, but we know who they are. We know what they look like. They're dark skinned with woolly hair. So like they've had a very clear understanding of the Kemites being black back in the day. Like they knew there wasn't like a question about that.
Yeah.
They needed, yeah. So it's like both are there's definitely points for both sides of the argument. That's just why everybody always kind of gets into the loop of debating about it because there's truth in both the sides, but it's very much so less likely that she was just straight Greek. Like that's more so a talking point that more like white supremacists or YT supremacists essentially try to push forward. Like, yeah, no, she was just Greek. We should just celebrate her as Greek. And of course, every movie and every TV program always depicts her as being some European woman, but that's just not the case. It's more likely that she was mixed because during that time period, that's what was happening more often, specifically with the family.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And yeah. Did you have anything else to add, Miss Brown?
No, I can just go back into the comments. I just wanted people to do their own research and do the work because there's other things and other authors and
Give us an author.
it's up to you, Brother Legend, for people to do some other research.
Give us an author,
And,
please.
and that's it. You can push me back into the comments.
You don't have an author?
Pardon me? I have several.
You said, all right, please enlighten us, sister. That's what we're here to do.
I'll send it to you. I'll send them to you.
Why won't you?
Specifically, I'll send them to you.
It's very interesting. All right. Thank you, Miss Brown.
Thank you. You have a blessed evening.
I don't know what that was, man. That was like an ego trip. I don't know what just happened.
Yeah, I apologize. I think maybe my I think that yeah, like yeah, very much so talking about Kemet kind of just derailed the conversation. Then we talked about Cleopatra, and then
honestly, I wanted to make a prompt about this, but I didn't have much time. I was already late coming up here. I didn't have time to like make a whole prompt. If anybody has some sources to share, feel free to share it. But let's not, come up here after we've discussed our sources and our knowledge. Don't come up here and try to derail the conversation with do your own research. Don't just there's other things out there. Just do your own research. Like don't do that. Don't do that to the conversation. Just come up, say, hey, I read in this book this, that, the third. And just be straight up with me. You know what I'm saying? That's what that's much more respectful.
I mean,
All
I've
right,
seen
yeah.
Miss Brown, Queen Brown before, and she's 100% for it. Like she's she's definitely
I would listen. I was raised that Cleopatra was a sister as well. You know what I'm saying? If she was a mixed race sister, she was still a sister at the end of
right.
the day. And that's how I look at it. It's just there is no denying that Ptolemy was her father. So she was either half Greek or something else, but she was most likely half Greek because that was during the Ptolemaic era. Like, like that's what they call that time of Egypt. It was the Ptolemaic era. Like, so it was already Greek. Ptolemy is a Greek name. Somebody said, Kay said Dr. Umar called her a vanilla African.
That.
But yeah. All right, Mariah, give us your
What
age, race, and
books?
pronouns, please.
Oh, like pronouns as well,
We can barely hear you, sis. You sound like you're on the back of a motorcycle.
Oh no,
Okay, that's
I'm
better.
upstairs in the service very ass up here. Yeah, it's where I'm at right. I'm upstairs and it's bad. But yeah, my name is Mariah. I'm from Texas. I'm 20 years old.
Okay. Give us your age, race, and pronouns. We didn't ask where you were from.
I'm
Your
from
age.
Jasper, Texas County. I'm 20.
Okay. And your race.
I'm not gonna lie. I got some stuff mixed in me. I'm like two different Indians,
You're one race.
white,
You are
and
one race.
Japanese.
You are not all that
I
other
want
stuff.
babies.
That is what your parents might have
I'm
been.
saying like on my, no, I'm talking about my dad's side, like his
You don't have to
mom,
tell us
like
about
where I
your
got my color
parents. You don't
from.
have to start looking up your whole genealogy,
Okay.
your family tree.
Oh,
What race do
shit.
you?
Black.
All right. And then what pronouns do you prefer? She, he, or they?
She.
All right. Talk to us. Answer some of those questions.
Okay. White Chris prefer existence. Perfect color. Yes. Like on can black and white culture peacefully coexist? Yes, I agree. I agree on that. Cause like we not each other enemies. Like if you really think about it, like we not each other enemies, and we all got black in us. If you really do your research, we all got black in us, and we not each other enemies. Like we here for the same reason, we breathe for the same reason, we bleed the same color. Like none of us are different from each other.
If we bleed
But
the same color, then how come my people are the only one bleeding?
because you saying like what we like going through and stuff, like bleeding like that.
A woman in Los Angeles called the police because a man was boxing her. You know what I mean by boxing? I'm trying to be TikTok friendly.
Oh yeah.
The
Nah,
police
yeah.
showed up. The police showed up, and within 3 seconds, that black woman was unalived.
Oh my.
So you say we all bleed the same. I say if that's the case, then why is our people the only one bleeding?
White privilege. White people get more rights than we have.
But you said we
And
peacefully coexist, didn't you?
no, I'm saying I was like I thought you said like it was like can we get along? I thought it was like that, but
So you believe in things you never
I
seen
take that
before.
back. I take that back. I take that back. I take that
Okay.
back. Take that back. Definitely take that back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything
But what's
else you
the
want to
other
talk
one?
about?
Tell me the the other ones.
Do interracial relationships benefit the black community?
Like when other races like mess with our race.
Yeah.
Yes, it very much do. It very much do.
And
All
I
right, how
feel
do you
like
feel?
that because why you feel like your kid have to have a lighter skin than just to have rights to get away with other stuff and be like not have more like race stuff going towards them, and then like we going through happening to them and stuff, or they got their good hair and all these other things. Like they feel like they can't have to have them things just to have their way and stuff, and I just don't appreciate that. Like I feel like men's out here feel like they can get with these other races and stuff because they feel like, oh, they gonna give you this and that, and like they way better than us black females. I don't like that.
Females is crazy. Um, Mariah,
The baby just young.
I
I'm not
appreciate.
young. Cause I can tell y'all right now. Hold up, hold up. Let me say
Nah.
something. For
Don't
y'all
start
that's
talking
up
to the
in here.
comments while you up here,
No,
please.
no, y'all not crazy. No, sir. I got respect for your life. This your life, brother. And we all here to help each other out and learn the real truth and the real knowledge, not this stuff that they teaching us is not false. We here to learn the real truth about this stuff. We're not here to argue none of this stuff. We're too grown for this and life's too short for the BS.
Um, so, um, I'm not sure why you said all that.
No, because like people coming after me, they older than me, right?
No. All right. So you're talking to them. I told you, let's not talk to the comments.
I'm saying like damn.
All right.
I'm saying like I'm not
So
here.
how do you feel about
We're
the
not
second
here to
question?
like get to it. Man.
How do you feel about the second question?
Them raising like another like race.
Pro-black children. Yeah, I guess. Do you know what pro-black means?
Nah, cause we don't really talk about that. My people, we don't really talk about that kind of stuff. I gotta learn this stuff on my own and like stuff like that. So not really.
What brought you up here, Mariah?
What about me up here?
What made you want to come up here?
Oh, what about me up here? Oh, cause I wanna like learn about my like history and stuff like that. Like I want to hear about my history. And like people sit here, so you ain't talking about nothing, but little y'all know that y'all won't like hear me out if I tell y'all that like y'all want to know that our blood is more than what they tell y'all is. Like they make weapons out of our blood, like our blood can cure disease and stuff. Like they kill most of these black people that had these cures for these diseases that they had for these like cancers, all this stuff. They kill all these people that had cure diseases
Please,
that can cure these
please
people
don't
that
say
had
the
all
K
these
word.
diseases.
Don't say the K word. Say
No, I'm not saying
unalive.
like saying the K.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
unalive. Yeah, they unalive these people because they had cures for these diseases and all these other things that was created for our people. Just like most of these stuff, like these, like cartoons and stuff, that's like they'll tell you like, oh yeah, this stuff was white, but really it was really made at like a black person. Like they'll tell you like this stuff was like basically saying like most of this stuff was whitewashed, like whitewashed. Like most of this stuff was like if you know what I'm talking about.
I
Like
don't know what you're talking
really
about. I don't know
blue
what you're
and stuff
talking
like
about.
that, bro.
Well, Queen,
It really
we understand where you're coming from. We understand because like you're preaching to the choir right now. Like we understand all that fully. Like when and we're not in disagreement with you in any way, shape, or form because like it. That's exactly like what's happening. Like we know that there's a lot of research that's out there that shows that they very much so are targeting us for our genetics. They're targeting us for everything, Queen. So it's not, it's the people that are listening in and some of the people that'll be the randoms that'll slide into the comments might disagree with that. But yeah, like you're preaching to the choir. We know, Queen. We understand. We, main focus. And I think that partially my fault that I may have like derailed.
nothing about it. No, you good. And then y'all talking about, oh, like it's all about the whites and stuff like that. But let's not forget that it was a black man that gave up his people himself. Like let's not forget and take our credit for it. And all this thing that's going on with us, why y'all think that stuff happening? Because our ancestors was obeying God. It was not listening to God. That's why all these curses was put on our people for generation and generation. And so we got
Name a
multi
black king.
racism. That's why, sir.
Name a black king.
You talking about like in general, like a black king in general?
No, name a black man that was king in a kingdom in ancient Africa.
I don't know.
Okay.
I just
Yeah,
know
you.
that the reason why we going through the stuff we going through is because of why people back then was like obeying God was listening. So we had to pay for the conquests. I mean, the stuff that's happening to us, like the curses and stuff. That's what we going through. The stuff we going through now.
No, sis, you had me until you said we going through it because we were disobedient to God.
I
Cause
know. I
which
said our
God?
ancestors back then was.
Yeah,
I'm
our
Hmm.
not saying like.
ancestors.
I'm not saying. Well, yeah, I know you were saying like you know how that slave stuff is going on right now.
Hmm.
Okay.
Slave stuff going on right now, like where?
So
Yeah.
In
what
America?
we went through back then was a black man that gave up his people first. It wasn't that white was like slaving our people
Well,
first. A
Queen,
white man gave
Queen,
up his
Queen. It's
people
important
first.
to
And
recognize that,
then
like, all
when
right,
we was
at no point in all of human history has there ever been as much of unalivings and devastation as has been directly caused by the slave trades. Well, the East slave trade and the European transatlantic slave trade. I think that the approach that you're making is more so like a, hey, we need to blame black people for a Abrahamic religious concept version of like what we think is actually the reason why we're in these No, there's nothing that black people did in specifically at all to any version of a god that would justify the unalivings of over 120 million people collectively over the last 1,200 plus years. So there's nothing in any argument like that. The only reason that people try to bring that up and is because they're trying to attempt to justify all the atrocity. They're trying to attempt to also justify all the theft of African culture, African resources, African people themselves. So it's important, Queen, that you do a little bit more research. And you're more than welcome to follow me, follow Brother Legend, follow any of the other individuals that you're hearing like regularly talking through the panel, because we do our best to provide as much accurate information as possible and stuff that you can also look back into, while also at the same time giving you more of an
can I
understanding.
pause you here? Like, can I pause you right here? Hold up, let me pause you here because everybody had a time to speak, and I never got my time to speak, and I am 20 years old, and I'm younger than everybody in here. I never said I
That
was
means
blaming
that
black people for anything that's happening. I said the reason why we went through this stuff that we going through, because I can show you right now a whole list of all of these curses that was put upon our people, and you be looking at them like, wow, these are really the things that's happening to us. Like you really
Queen,
gotta really
you got to
think
step away
your
from
stuff into it,
from
because
the
I'm not
religion.
going by what nobody say. I'm not going off what nobody say, and I'm not researching on nothing and stuff. I'm going by what I feel like deep inside. I'm not going off of what he say, she say.
Understood, but
And
Queen,
I'm not. I
you're
never said I
talking
was blaming
from a
nobody. I
talking
said let's
point.
not forget it was a black man and gave up his people first. So we're
who?
not
What
gonna
was
just
his
That's
blame it
name?
just
Who
upon
not
was
all the
it?
true.
Who
white
was it?
That's
What was
folks.
his
just not
name?
true.
We are not each other enemies. We not
Who
no.
was
We
he?
not nobody
What was
enemies. This
his
is what I was
name?
saying. But y'all taking the wrong way. Now y'all not letting me speak.
Wait, is
What
it
was
a,
his name?
I think is it a misunderstanding? Cuz I think are you trying to say that like we're still going through the similar things that they went through and they tried to condition us that we just were in disobedience? Is that what you're trying to say? Maybe I'm misunderstanding cuz I think
I'm saying like while we only ones bleeding is because they feel like I don't know if y'all get what I'm saying, but I'm not saying nothing
Can,
like that. How y'all taking it? I'm not taking it any way y'all taking it. But
Mariah, real quick, you had one of the first things you came in and said is you want to be educated, you want to learn about
I
the.
never listen up. Hold up.
You said you wanted to learn the
I never
history.
ever.
You wanted to learn our history. That's what you said, right? I mean, did I mishear something? Anyone else on the panel? I thought she had said she wants to learn our history.
I'm gonna be honest. Never mind. I'm struggling here, y'all. I'm struggling.
Well,
So
I'm
Mariah,
struggling
there's
so
one book
hard.
there's one book I would like to recommend to you. And the reason I'm recommending this book to you is
You're gonna
because
recommend
I
it from the comments. Hold on. She got us down. Thank you very much for the pen and pause.
well, and you know
awesome.
what?
Come.
I'll recommend it for anyone. And the reason I'm going to recommend the junior version is because we get distracted with dates sometimes, and we really need to understand the themes and understand the concepts. and I was going to recommend Stamped from the beginning, but the junior version, because it's very important that certain details don't overwhelm people on certain levels. Okay, I'm gonna
I,
stop.
I don't know. She might
Listen,
have to
y'all
go
trying
to.
so hard. Y'all trying so hard for somebody that could not read the first question.
I was about to
I'm gonna be
say.
honest. She could not read the question. She couldn't read the question. She had. You read it first. She couldn't even. She asked us to
Yeah,
read
I was
it
about to
for
say we
her.
might have to recommend Weenie Hut General.
She ain't reading no
'Cause
book.
that I was still trying to connect it.
Hey yo, look, the East Coast is coming out of me, y'all. She ain't reading nothing y'all talking about. She couldn't read
All
the
I'm
first
trying
question. She asked us to read the first question because the last one is the only one she can read. Anyway, she ain't reading none of them books. I'm telling you.
I actually caught on to that, and that was probably one of the reasons I recommended the junior version, because the words aren't advanced. We're not supposed to be laughing at this.
It's my wife. I'm sorry, she got me cracking up. She didn't even understand the first one. All right, I'm gonna be nice. See, I was telling you, I was trying so hard. I was trying hard, y'all. Listen, black
Yeah.
literacy
We
is
was
important.
too.
Black literacy is important. We know that literacy rates in our community are very low. I'm someone that worked in the music industry. I'll tell you that a lot of your favorite celebrities cannot read.
Wait, hold. So
So I
somebody.
understand how real it is. I just also understand that y'all should not hop in the ocean with sharks if you don't know how to swim.
Well,
So you know what I'm saying.
Miss.
If you're gonna come up on this panel, please know what you're talking about. Please have some sources. You know what I'm saying. If you're gonna come on this panel, at least have an opinion that's backed in some sort of logic, some sort of reason. Do not come up here so we can teach you. Yeah, never mind. Oh man, I'm so sarcastic. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna do that. Don't come up
Mr.
here if you don't know certain things and you need to learn those things. We're
Well,
just gonna let
Mrs. Santiago in the comments just marked down that that she has a learning disability. So that's why
ain't
I'm like,
nothing wrong
oh,
with that.
yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Oh, that person had one?
Yeah. So I think
Oh,
that's what
okay.
she
Well,
was.
that
Yeah.
makes sense. So, if that is your specific disability, this might not be the live for you to come up here. You know what I'm saying? This is an app built for entertainment. We try to make it an educational space. But if a disability is going to stop you from being able to participate fully in this discussion at the level at which we're trying to take the conversation, then please just watch. Don't come up here and try to participate. That's all I ask. Please, thank you. You're going to derail the conversation. All right. Next guest.
They should
Yeah.
also seek out literary programs at their local library that can help them with their comprehension skills and reading skills. They should offer them.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Rashad, give us your age, race, and pronouns, please.
What's up, man? Black, 22, he, him.
All right, talk to us, King.
I was just gonna chime in. Yeah, it's kind of hard when you're a younger person and you don't do well at articulating yourself. That's why stuff like this. I wouldn't say it's good. It's good practice for me, but when you got to learn how to articulate yourself. But we're gonna try to head in the right direction, man. Get some of these points off. Do
Mm-hmm.
interracial relationships? I don't think no, because when you think about the implications of a relationship, it's just more than you know what I'm saying, hey, how you doing? Let's hang out. Let's do this, let's do that. It's more than that. Especially in the climate and what we live in. We were born into this. This is not something that we started, we made happen on the world, right? So we have to think about the implications of being with the other race, being with somebody who doesn't come from what you come from, right? You don't live how they live, essentially. Like I just think about so many ways in which black people are different, it's just, can you really, with in the modern day, can you really overcome that? No, you can't. Because when you talk about being, especially when you talk about being pro-black in a space like this, being with a black person is one of the, I won't say easiest ways, but one of the most simple ways to do your duty as a member of the community. That's just how it is. And so no, you can't. It don't it can't benefit, rather. Okay, can non-black parents. And I mean, even when it come down to the parents, right? Because how can you teach? How can you nurture? How can you take care of? How can you lean over a black person as a non-black person? I just don't see how in that mother or fatherly type of role. So when you get these types of relationships, and a child comes through, it's often rocky, and you can't really navigate that how they like to say. I interpret it as the dynamics between us get blown up so much more when you have a child. When you have a child, it's just the dynamics go out the window. So it's just we don't live in a place in a time where that's efficient, right? So can non-black person be pro-black? I mean, that's just a no. You can't be pro-black if you're not black, unfortunately. You'll be anti-racist. Congratulations, but no, I don't care. Can black and white culture peacefully coexist? Not without the system being as it is now, and that is just how it is. With all these are what we're talking about here are the foundations of relationships, lives, families. How can you have even just these a couple categories function on that just nuclear level? You can't build a community fighting turmoil with turmoil. Two wrongs doesn't make a right in real life. So no, because white culture is the opposite, the absence of color. So if you are you all the way, you cannot exist where they are. As a black person, especially in the United States, we have to break our backs to be who we want to be, express ourselves how we want to express ourselves. That's not something that comes lightly. Definitely, and some people struggle with that, and that's a battle. But and I'm just talking about a side effect. But yes, can we coexist? White culture coexist. Keyword white. Some of you Europeans don't even know what that word means, or what you interpret that is. Keyword white culture exists. No, it cannot.
Okay. Shout out to Rashad. Big up yourself, King. Appreciate you talking and bringing us back, bringing the conversation back around. We got another guest up here as well. Africa Debunks. What's going on, brother?
How are you, brother? I just wanted to piggyback off of what the last brother said, and what you said as well, actually, because you said, "Why do you believe in things that you've never seen?" So when you kind of examine the idea that black and white culture can peacefully coexist, I would ask the follow-up question would be where. The question would be where. What country have you had white people and black people live side by side where you don't have this absolutely vicious anti-black stained with blood history. Which country? Like like white people and black people have lived side by side for generations after generations where it's been peaceful. Which country has there not been this long history of anti-blackness? Because if I scan all the like, especially where white people are the majority, if I scan all the countries I can think of where white people are the majority, it's some super dark history. Like we could go through them. Does Canada have a good history? Does the USA have a history? Does Netherlands have a good history? Does the UK have a good history? Does France have a good history? Does New Zealand have a good history? Does Australia have a good history? Like we could literally like there's not an example that exists where you can say, oh man, this crazy shit to black folk. So like when you say like can black and white culture peacefully coexist, the evidence is telling us something. So the fact that you even have black people in 2023 coming here and saying like, hey man, we all bleed blood, man. We all bleed the same red, man. And it's like, but the history is telling them that like, you don't bleed the same red and you don't peacefully coexist. And there's not, of all the countries in the world, like, you can't find me one. So like, I think it's just bizarre when people, it's, I don't know, it's bizarre. I think it's on a level, it's a level of Stockholm syndrome that a lot of black people would like to live in the world where, man, hey man, it's just a lot of black people would love to live in the world where, hey man, we're all the same, and it's just the leadership that is dividing us. It's just the leadership. Really, black and white people are the same, and we all have the same values. And then like you go to like, and then you go into history and you open up a book and you're like, oh no, this is not how it works. That's not how it works at all, and that's not what has happened throughout history. So yeah, I'm yet to find hey, maybe somebody can point me in direction and pass me a source, but I'm yet to find any country on this planet Earth where like white people and black people have peacefully coexisted. And the other point I would touch on is the whole Cleopatra point. And for me, like how I understand Cleopatra and the Ptolemaic dynasty is that just the speculation. We don't know the roots of her maternal lineage. So there's a lot of speculation about like her mother and her mother's origins. But what we do know for sure is that her paternal lineage, she's a direct descendant of Ptolemy the First. And like the whole point of Cleopatra, and like how I understand Cleopatra in my head, is that the whole point is that she wasn't African. Like there's a whole point is that the Ptolemaic dynasty was a Greek imposition on Egypt. And like, I think it's important to see it that way. And like, it's important to understand that Cleopatra, she ruled over a shell of what Egypt was. Cleopatra lived like closer to us than she lived to the creation of the pyramids. So like, in terms of like time frames, it's important to understand that the same way we look at the pyramids in awe and think, oh my gosh, how did they pull them off? Cleopatra was looking at the same pyramids in awe, thinking, how did these Africans pull it off? It's the exact same thing. Like Cleopatra, regardless of her maternal lineage, her legacy is a Greek legacy, and like we have to be honest about who Cleopatra was, and for me, like even when you look at like the Egyptian queens, like she's not the most accomplished Egyptian queen. You have Hatshepsut, you have Nefertiti, you have far more accomplished Egyptian female pharaohs. It's that Western civilization is obsessed with Cleopatra because Cleopatra intersects with like the Roman Empire, and like the Roman Empire came in and dominated them. That is why that's why like Cleopatra is always at the front and center of like the Western interpretation of what they think ancient Egypt is. But like I don't even know. I don't even know if you'd call like Cleopatra ancient Egypt. I would call her like she's more of like the transitional phase between ancient Egypt and like modern Egypt. Like so like in regards to Cleopatra, I think we should just be honest. And I think in regards to like the white people, like also like when you look at the reaction between like, I think it's very, very telling that like a lot of like white racists turn around and say like, oh my gosh, how can you have biracial or black interpretations of Cleopatra? And then and then you just look at them and like, how has Cleopatra been interpreted for the last 100 years? And you were perfectly fine. But what's her name? The famous white actress. What's her name? That depicted Cleopatra.
Elizabeth Taylor.
Elizabeth Taylor. You're perfectly happy with Elizabeth Taylor. You're perfectly happy with Gods of Egypt, where what's his name? Gerard Butler, who's Irish, was depicting ancient Egyptians. You're perfectly happy with that dude from what's the dude? The dude that
Christian
plays Jamie
Bale.
Lannister from Game of Thrones. He's Norwegian, and he was playing ancient Egyptians. People were perfectly fine with that, and then you can see the knee-jerk reaction when people try and have Afrocentric depictions of ancient Egypt. It's because because there's an instinctive knee-jerk reaction because people want to distance ancient Egypt from Africanness and Africanity as much as they can. But the evidence tells a story. So yeah, man, if for me, I think us as black people, we shouldn't be too caught up in the ownership of Cleopatra and like the Ptolemaic dynasty.
Right.
And like I often use the Ptolemaic dynasty as a kind of a lesson for how like white supremacy works. And white supremacy works in a way that like white supremacy doesn't undermine itself. And irrespective of whatever is going on, white supremacy must always be at the forefront. And this is the example that I give people is that during the days of the Roman Empire, there was a civil war between Julius Caesar and what's his name? The other great there was a civil war between Julius Caesar and Pompey. Julius Caesar had routed Pompey's army, and Pompey had fled to Egypt, hoping to seek refuge with Ptolemy, who was Cleopatra's brother. Ptolemy, fearful of Julius Caesar and his army descending on Egypt to try and get Pompey, sent his men to capture Pompey and kill him, hoping to curry favor with Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar turned around and said, "What the hell? It's because I'm beefing Pompey doesn't mean you and your dirty Egyptian hands get to touch a Roman general. Absolutely not." Julius Caesar sent his Roman army to Egypt to collect Cleopatra's brother, and they drowned him in the river Nile. And it's like you need to understand that like Julius Caesar's entire worldview was like, hey, even if I'm beefing another Roman general, even if we're at war trying to kill each other, Rome must not be undermined. Under no circumstances can Rome be undermined. Like, and I think it's important to understand that's exactly how white supremacy works. Like, irrespective of what they tell you their values are, irrespective of whatever their religion is, irrespective of where they are in the world, irrespective of whether they're beefing, like white supremacy must not be undermined. And like that's exactly how Julius Caesar saw Rome. Because Julius Caesar, he was beside himself because he's like, how dare you? How dare you? Like, I get to beef another Roman general because I'm Roman. You don't get to beef another Roman general. And I think there's a lot of lessons you can get from just like how Rome, because Rome is the forefather of Western civilization. So I think us studying and understanding Rome will help you understand the mentality of like why the world is the way it is.
Yeah.
I yield my time, bro.
Well, thank you for that rundown. I'm considering doing a live on ancient Kemet now. To be honest, I gotta have my boy Scrappy. He's a Egyptologist. I believe he actually went to school for anthropology. He hosts lives as well.
Goofy.
So maybe he could come up and talk about it. But yeah, appreciate that rundown as always, dropping gems. And for the next guest, precisely this. Give us your age, race, and pronouns, please.
Black, 21, and she, her.
All right. Talk to us.
Oh, can a non-black person be pro? What does pro-black mean?
Why'd you come up here to answer a question you didn't know what it mean?
Well, I mean, what does being pro-black mean? Like, just liking black people?
Did you answer my question?
Or I'm just trying to get to the bottom of it,
Why are you trying to get to the bottom of a question by
so I
coming
can
up on
fully
a
understand it
panel?
and give you the best answer that I can, so I can fully understand it.
I'm gonna be honest.
So being pro-black, is that just not being racist?
You don't sound like a black woman.
I'm a trans woman.
But you don't sound like a black trans woman.
How do you sound like a color?
If you was really black, you would know being black is more than just a color. Turn your camera on.
Our camera broken. Stupid ass nigga. Fuck you, cuh.
I don't know. I think I should stay up, y'all. Or should I go down and come back up?
Yeah, we already know what he was trying to do.
Yeah.
They try to report. Did you block? You blocked him?
Yeah. I think the mods, y'all got him, right? Y'all blocked him? Did you block him, Leisha? I think Leisha blocked him. TikTok doesn't care if he said it or I said it. Yeah, Leisha blocked him.
Also, this idea that like any black person would be like, when you say, if you like, I come from a completely different side of the world to you, but you can hear my cadence. I'm a black person, the way I pronounce my words.
Yeah.
And if anybody ever said I don't sound black, I'd be like, have you been around black people? That's the first thing I'd say. Like when the only person who the
How do
only
you
people
sound
that
like a cooler? Like that's
yeah, I just like, oh, okay, I know what this is. Like, I already know where this is going. When they're like, oh, I don't sound like a color. I was like, what do you mean? Like, you ain't never been around. Like, if you've grown up in a black community, you know, like we don't sound the way like other different communities. Like even like the way we say our words, like the cadence, our pitch is different, and you can tell when it's a black person speaking. I can tell when it's a middle class black person. It's whether it's a working class black person. I can tell whether it's an African or Caribbean. Like I can tell my people. The only people who can't tell our people are people from outside, man.
And thank y'all for typing F1 in the comments to protect the live. Keep tapping like so that we can stay up. That's what they do. You know, they come up here, they say that word, and then they try to report you to get you taken down. Why do they do that? Because they feel threatened by us just sitting here talking. What have we said that is not like actually just true? But what have we said that's like against any other community? Like we haven't said we've spoken about how our community has been affected by those that literally, I don't know, kidnapped our ancestors and brought them here and still benefit from that oppression. Like we've talked about how our communities are affected by that, but we haven't said anything like insidious or malicious towards them. So why do you get triggered? Like, why do you get triggered enough to try to do that to the live? It's just, you know, you already know. You know, he got a cone shaped hoodie at home. You know, that's just what that is. Hey, Kumo, what's good, brother?
I'm just here watching from the bleachers, enjoying the show.
Yeah. What's going on, man? How you been?
Not too bad. I've been meaning to do this more, but like for that same reason that TikTok, I lost a video today, and it's them, that demographic of them. I call it incestuous behavior. It's got nothing to do. But I kind of realized, did we all just notice how slavery ended up happening? Do you see how he Trojan horsed himself in here and then pretended to be something he wasn't, and then we were like, bro, black woman, like you went too far there with that disillusion, and then he went straight into I'm the master, look at me.
Yeah. That's weird. I was a musician for most of my life, and one thing I know is I could tell a black voice. Like even sometimes when people come up here and they code switch and they sound like really adjacent to, you know, them folks, I can still hear the dual tone. If you want to know if someone's black or not, it's easy to tell. I'm gonna teach y'all right now. is when you listen to their voice, you gotta listen hard though, because I know everyone don't do music, but there's a dual. You can hear two voices at the same time. That's why Mariah Carey can. I don't know if y'all know, but Mariah Carey can hit two notes at the same time. Like she can hit two notes at the same time. Like she can harmonize with herself. But when it comes to black people, we have a low tone. Tone means your tone is not the same thing as your pitch. Your pitch is do re mi na da na da na. Like your pitch is like when you go up or down, high or low. But your tone is the texture of your voice. The texture. We have a texture to our voice that they can only mimic because they are monotone. Like they have only one sound. That's why when you code switch at the office, a lot of the sisters you'll notice they have to speak a little bit higher. And even when brothers talk with their code switch voice, they're like, "Hey guys, how are you?" Like you gotta kind of talk in your head voice because that's taking out the low tone in your voice. And so even on the African continent, women with a deep voice was sexy. That's why a lot of black people loved Pop Smoke when he came out. Pop Smoke, very Afrocentric. I don't know how conscious he was, but I worked with him a few times, and one thing I'll tell you about that young brother was that everything he did, like he was from Panama, and he was very Afrocentric. Like he loved African rhythms. Listen to Burna Boy, like those deep tones in our voice. But if you listen, we also have a higher tone as well. So we have the head voice and the chest voice. That's why black choirs, Africans, even on the continent, when they sing in harmony, it sounds way different than anything a European choir got going on. So listen to early rock and roll. Listen to the Rolling Stones. Listen to AC/DC. How they had to their voice to try to give it some tonality because they're missing that tone. They always try to add seasoning. Listen to Elvis Presley. He had a like he's trying to come up with a tonation to his voice. Like either that or they're screaming. Or like listen to any white tea artist. I swear to you, listen to any one of them. They are all trying to mimic some type of tone. Any one of them. Billie Eilish has to kind of whisper to give herself some like Billie Eilish, she sing like that. She kind of whispers into the mic. They all are trying to mimic some type of tone that they don't have. I'm telling you, listen, this is I'll do a live one day. I always say I'm gonna stop making promises, but I like to talk about music. And one thing I know about music is it's made of different ingredients. The rhythm of a song can tell you where it's from, even in America, within just America. But the drums speak a language, you could tell, but the tone of somebody's voice, you could tell where they're from. I wasn't hearing that tone in that person's voice, and so that's how I knew that person wasn't melanated. And yeah. Anyway,
You know that double tone thing? I found this out in school with voice acting. You remember Dragon Ball Z?
yeah,
Frieza's got that double tone Namekian voice where
yeah, yeah,
black
yeah.
people that can do that.
Piccolo had that.
Piccolo is straight up just a brother, man. Just
You know what? Piccolo's case, yeah, subconsciously I associated Piccolo with blackness before I knew the mental, like before I knew the history of it and like the specifics of how black people speak. I heard Piccolo's voice and I was like, that's a brother, even though he's green. Oh, there was
Yeah, me too.
yo,
a
Piccolo
lot of people
and
made that
Mr.
same mental
Popo.
connection.
Even his
Mr.
original outfit looks like something that was straight out of Africa. Like his original, the whole head wrap and then the cape with the every like
They
for
were
sure.
Muslim. They were Muslim.
Yeah.
They even had their own religion.
Yeah.
They were Muslim. But
Exactly.
also, Mr. Popo, if y'all remember him, he had a deep voice as well. That was the most racist part of Dragon Ball Z. They tried to change him blue at one point because it was racist that Mr. Popo was blackface, like he was in blackface. He had Moorish clothing. And Popo, um, I think it was Popo is a fruit, I believe. It's a dark colored fruit. Like his name, Mr. Popo, it meant like a black, like a fruit or something, or a name for something black. So yeah, he like it was literally blackface, Mr. Popo.
I need to double check on that fruit thing, but I do
Yeah.
know that like this Mr. Popo made me used to ask people this question, can you be accidentally racist? Because apparently that's what happened. They were mimicking American culture and Japanese animation, it's based off cats. It's not based off humans. So the character Goku is neither black nor white. He's a cat. But then they tried to inject this thing from American culture and then they ended up with Popo. It's
It's
people don't
crazy.
see I get it in, and Popo is one of the most powerful characters in Dragon Ball Z, especially for that period. He was like overpowered, so it wasn't like a disrespectful thing, but oh my gosh, blackface.
Yeah, it's blackface. I mean, because they could have gave him dark skin, right, and not give him big lips and big white eyes. Like they did that, and then they dressed him the way they dressed him, and then the weird part to me is if you look on Dragon Ball Z, his palms are lighter colored. Like his skin is brown. I mean, not brown. His skin is black, but his palms are not black. So it's like that's a human thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, why would you make his palms lighter than the rest of him if he's an alien? You know, that was just interesting.
Another character is Jinx from Pokemon, and I've it's recently that the Japanese artists have been able or been pushing out like a nice color palette for us, but it used to be out of America, like they were trying to jive with America, jive turkeys.
Wow, I didn't think of Mr. Jinx. Yeah, yeah, that's crazy. Well, we have a guest up here. Hey, Bull, give us your age, race, and pronouns.
All right, my age is 40. My race is Caucasian. And my pronoun is male.
Okay. Male is not a pronoun. Would you prefer the term he?
No, my pronoun is very much male. So
Male is not a pronoun. That's a sex. So
sex is male.
He thinks we're talking about his sexuality when we're talking about pronouns. He's a little confused.
all right, so I'll make it easy. What's going on tonight, y'all? Let's have a serious conversation. What the hell is going on tonight?
Dee's not here. She's not here to activate.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Activate.
That's it.
But
That's
I don't
it.
even believe in the Holy Spirit. I just believe in
No, not the Holy Spirit. She be activating the African spirits. Like it's that's the side that she be bringing that to the table. Hey, we might need to actually like start really taking serious consideration about having like a little, having like a nice. I mean, because Black woman spirituality, like they bring that to the table. Then
Hold on. But wait, Tia's here.
Ooh.
Tia's here.
You better slide.
D is here. I know I saw her earlier. I can do a little D what they call it?
Ooh.
What's the word, y'all?
Can I do D? Can I do tonight? Can I do D? Can I do my rendition of D?
A D impersonation.
Nah, man. We gotta give this spirituality to the queens. They can activate it better than we can.
It's an African spirit. It's not the YT spirit.
Okay.
All right, y'all ready?
Holy Spirit, activate, activate, activate. Holy Spirit, activate. Hello, 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 friends. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in to Brother Legends Live. You are in Brother Legends Live. Make sure you tap, tap, tap that screen like you was tapping that last night. All right. We don't know what's going on in here tonight. These YT people is hitting something and it's not the screen. All right, let's get it to 125K. Make sure you subscribe. Subscribe to Brother Legends Live. Brother Legends Live. Follow their YouTube. Follow Brother Legend on TikTok and hit the subscribe for B1 Initiative. And drop a little something, drop a little change in that Cash App. Bring down Babylon, drop a little change. And don't forget, if you ain't hopping that tub with your little dirty self, stay out of black people business, okay? Stay out of black people business. We need 125K by 11:40. Tap, tap, tap that screen. Tap it if you expect to get something tomorrow night.
All right, thank you, Queen. Appreciate you. I don't know, D. It was wild. I don't know what's going on tonight. People coming up here know they can't read. People coming up here know they don't know what a pronoun is and saying the N word and all this other kind of mess. I don't know what's going on. I haven't had one serious guest tonight. Oh, yes, I did. The first guest was semi-serious. He was semi-serious. He was all right. I don't know. He was weird, but he was wrong, but he was serious, you know.
Brother, do you know the discomfort? Because I've that's something I've noticed, that there's a kind of a visceral discomfort when black people are coming together and discussing black issues. It makes a lot of like a lot of white people very, very, very uncomfortable. And like I've noticed it in the workplace. Any of you who work in a professional corporate field, like if you get a bunch of black people consistently, like especially in a white dominated like work environment, coming together and having lunch together, oh, it sends people haywire. And if you have a bunch of like black managers coming together and like having even just having lunch together every day, it would drive people insane because it makes people so uncomfortable. They're like, oh, what are these black people talking about? What are they plotting? What are they conspiring? It's a visceral kind of fear. And I think the fear is like I think the fear is fundamentally that they know what happens when they culminate together and when they come together, that they often do not have the best interest of other people at heart, and a lot of the time they project what they feel and how they know how they function, and they project that onto black people. And a lot of us we just be in here like we just be here talking about our experiences, talking about our history, like sharing our knowledge, but like I like th- this like these lives are so far from like radical violent even it's even
You
far
know
from
what
what
I'm
you see.
saying?
It's so far from even what you see on like everyday MAGA kind of like MAGA lives, because what you see on MAGA lives is way more radical than what you see. It's just fascinating that, and like you have MAGA lives that go on for days, and like
Right,
people don't come in and you don't see black people ambushing the MAGA lives. Like
right.
it's very
This
interesting.
these lives are curated in such a way that we can speak on pro-blackness. Well, we can speak on anti-racism from a pro-black point of view. Like that's really what I do on TikTok, because I know that it's not just going to be us in these spaces, and there are certain questions I don't think I want to hear their answer to. So I just try to keep us from being able to even go down that rabbit hole with them. Um, it could just be disrespectful, the attempt for them to answer some questions up here, and we would just be getting triggered over and over and over. And I don't want to even do that, so I avoid it. But no, this is not a militantly revolutionary space in itself. Every time you see the word non-black, that should let you know, like, because if we was really on our revolutionary path, we wouldn't be talking about this at all. Honestly, we would be talking about something entirely different. But I do that on my Twitter. Not I touch on some of this too, but on Twitter there's less of a filter. So if anybody wants to follow me on Twitter, feel free. BIGBROLGND. But yeah, Twitter is a lot less restricted. Go
I,
ahead, CB. What's going on?
well, I wanted to bring it to attention because I'm always saying the same people back in the 1700s are the same people today. They don't want us to assembly. They don't want us to gather together. Now, if we're gathering together talking about the white Jesus, they're not going to have no problems with that. But when we're talking about ourselves and empowering ourselves, to me, I just see the same people who did not want us to assemble at all back in the day because of fear.
Yeah, that's true. Tanya Love, what's going on, sister?
Hey, good evening. I'm not sure if you do Happy New Year's, but if you do, Happy New Year's,
Happy
everyone.
Kwanzaa. It's the fifth
Happy
day of Kwanzaa.
Kwanzaa.
Nia. That's right.
My bad, brother.
You good, sister. The new year is come. The Eurocentric New Year is coming, but our ancestors' New Year was in spring. So, but you know,
Amen.
we're
Power
going to
to my
celebrate
people.
the new year in the middle of winter, in the middle of death. We're going to celebrate new life. Okay, that makes no sense, right? Like, doesn't it just make sense to be in spring? Like when new life starts growing, new year. But okay, whatever. Europe.
I do agree with you as usual. But again, thank you for allowing me to join your live. I love your lives.
Appreciate you.
Uh, Age 50, race black woman, proud black woman, pronoun black woman, she, her.
All
To
right,
answer your
talk to us.
questions, you know my answers already. I say the same things, but I'm gonna say it again. No, hell no, no. And the reason for number one, I say no because you're watering down us when you do that. So that don't work for us. And pretty much my answers is no. Because if the last one, can our communities work together? Basically, no. Because if we could, we would already. And since we not, we can't. Um, what else? Yeah. And no, non-black parents cannot raise a black child to be pro-black. I don't care if you YT or any other. You can't. You have no idea what it takes to raise a black child to be pro-black if you have no idea what it means. The benefits, there is none. Pretty much, you know my answers. Like I said, they're pretty much every night. No, no. So, but I was listening earlier, and you're right. I was kind of confused with a lot that I was listening to earlier. I was like, okay, they're not reading the questions. Can't read the questions. Not answering the questions. And the guy that was eating, thank you for taking him off
Yeah,
because
that
that
was
was so
wild.
annoying. It's like that was rude as hell. Excuse me.
Yeah.
That was rude as you know what. I'm
No,
like,
it
how is
was.
he doing that? Like that's so rude. But I really appreciate you. I really appreciate your lives. I like the information. But one thing I do want to get is some books, information about any type of books about Black history, um, everything. Because my granddaughter, she's really into Black history, so I really want to get
How
better
old is
books
it?
for
How
her.
old is she?
16. She loves Black history.
What's a good book for a 16-year-old? I mean, I would say that is a good age to start reading Chancellor Williams. What do you got, Timothy? What do you think for a 16-year-old?
Because like I don't want to immediately hit her with like, like, hey, it's the most horrific thing you could possibly read at the.
That's what I'm saying. But Chancellor Williams is a realistic way to look at it. I mean, it
Yeah.
kind of helps me, but you can't give her a shake hand to jump. That's probably that's advanced. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
For a
But
16-year-old,
but she's always been into Black history. It was a guy had the Black history cards on Facebook. I bought them. I looked at them once. She took them. They're gone. I don't have them anymore. I took her to I live in California. It's a black store in Oakland called Marcus. It's a black bookstore. I took her in there. I had to excuse my language. I had to almost pull her out. She's like, I want this book. I want this book. I mean, she's really into it. So that's the wrong word, into it. She likes Black history. And I think that's a good thing. All the schools she's gone to so far in California, well, Oakland, have been really into teaching the kids about Black history. And I think that's great.
But does she know ancient history?
That's probably what she probably needs.
That's what I'm saying. So, Dr. Chancellor Williams, The Destruction of Black Civilization.
Okay.
From I believe it says The Destruction of Black Civilization from 4500 BC to 2000 AD, but it was written, I believe, in the 60s. But yeah, he just catalogs Black history from back in the day to today, understanding that there was no such thing as race back then. So there was no Black people back then.
Okay.
But he looks at what we would have called them if race had existed back then. They would be
Okay.
Black people. And so he goes and talks about it in a way that's unapologetically Pan-African and Afrocentric. That's the correct term,
Okay.
Afrocentric.
I mean, I could read that too.
So the thing is, right? There's the African telling of the truth. There's the European telling of the truth, and then there's the Asiatic. Everyone's got their version of history.
Okay.
So there might not be one definitive true version of history, right? Because if there's my version, there's your version, there's everyone else's version of even what took place on this live tonight, it could all be different.
True.
However, it's like Africa is the host of the live.
Okay.
Africa is the person that entered the room first. So if you want to know what happened before there was a Europe, before there was an Asia, before everyone else got their little narrative going, then listen to what Africa has to say about world history first. You see what I'm saying?
I get
That's
it.
why that's just why their opinion matters more. So, and that's what John Henrik Clarke says. You cannot know world history unless you know African history first.
Exactly.
So, yeah, and then and then beyond that, I would say any of the mini lectures of John Henrik Clarke on YouTube, you will not listen to John Henrik Clarke for more than 10 minutes. If you give John Henrik Clarke, John John, Henrik Henrik, Henrik. You just type those two words in. John John Henrik. John Henrik, you type that in YouTube, you cannot listen to this old man talk for 10 minutes and he won't blow your mind. I guarantee you, 10 minutes, he's going to blow your mind. You're going to listen to a whole 2-hour lecture like it was 15 minutes. I'm telling you. Especially if you love history. He's going to open your mind up.
Okay. And as usual, you always give great information. Can I just say one thing about the actor behind you? I'm sorry. I don't feel sorry for him.
Yeah, no, me neither.
That's what he get. That's what he get. Because if you wanted a Michelle Obama or Coretta Scott, that's what you should have got with. You can't turn them into us, and that's their problem.
And he could have had Megan the whole time.
And you know what? I'm sorry, but I am too. Honestly, I am.
She looked crazy
with her. She do. I'm like, really? Why would you go there? I'd have been like, man, please go back over there. That's when you call yourself happy until they turned the pulled the wool off and showed your true colors. But it is what it is. But thank you for listening, and always thank you for letting me speak on your lives. But everyone have a beautiful day, Kwanzaa.
That's
everything.
Right. That's right.
Power to my
Appreciate
people.
You, all right. Peace and power. One love.
Bye. Thank you.
Brother, listen, I think like in my head, the way I kind of understand like the relationship between Black and white people is like the relationship. I don't know if you've heard the parable of the scorpion and the frog, where the scorpion side of the pond. The scorpion is on one side of the pond, and he sees the frog swimming across the pond, and he says to the frog, "Hey man, I really need to get to the other side of the pond. Can you help me? Let's work together. Hey, we're both animals. We both live here. Can you just help me get to the other side of the pond?" And like the frog looks at the scorpion and says, "Absolutely not. You're gonna sting me. You're a scorpion." And the scorpion was just like, "Why would I do that? Like that's crazy. Like if I sting you, we're gonna drown. Like, come on. Like use just common sense. Like it's in our best interest to work together. Can you get me to the other side of the pond?" And the frog looks at him, contemplates it. He's like, "You know what? You make sense. All right, hop on my back." The frog is taking the scorpion across the pond, and when they reach the halfway point, the scorpion flicks out its stinger, stings the frog, and they both drown. And as the frog is screaming like, "Why have you stung me? Now we're both gonna die." And the scorpion just shrugs and says, "It's my nature." That is the relationship between us. So like right now, what you're gonna hear in the lead up to the 2024 election is white people turn around and tell you, hey, man, hey, it's the elites, it's not us. Hey, man, it's these billionaires, it's these, hey, man, we have the same interests, blah, 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 blah. And you see, they're going to vote for Trump in 2024. Overwhelmingly, they're going to vote for Trump in 2024. They're going to tell you everything you want to hear. Right now, they're going to tell you, oh man, it's this elites. Hey man, they're trying to, it's just these elites coming together. They're trying to take, no. And then when you see, watch them vote for the billionaire Trump in 2024. What? And like,
Wow.
and like for me, it's like, also like, I think you can apply that to like Jonathan Majors. Like, Jonathan Majors and his partner, like that is the nature of white supremacy. Like, because the common sense would tell you, no, he's a multi-millionaire like actor. No, the evidence is clearly in his favor. Oh, he should be fine. Oh no, this is the nature of the system we live in. He was going down irrespective of what evidence he brought up, irrespective of him having the best lawyers, irrespective of him having the evidence of him running away from her, irrespective of him having the driver corroborate his story, irrespective of irrespective of everything that was going on, he still went down. Even irrespective of him having like the harassment and assault charges dropped, they hit him with a misdemeanor charge. You misunderstand what's going on here. Like, he was always going to go down. He was always going to lose his Disney roles. He was always going to have his career in shatters, because that is the way the system works. And like that is the nature of the system. And that is the nature and you're going to see the nature of the people you live beside who are telling you right now, hey man, it's about class. Hey man, it's about us coming together. You see, 2024 is tomorrow. So you'll see, keep notes over the next year, and you watch the rhetoric change when it comes to sharing power. Watch how the rhetoric changes.
Hey, brother legend. I know
Yeah.
on the top, but I want to do this pushback on this major situation. If we could just come back to that, because every time somebody says something in that way, I do have a thing to say, and I never end up saying it. But if I know CB had a hand up for a while.
Oh, go ahead, CB. I'll come back to you. Come on, appreciate you.
Oh, all I wanted to say was when you go and get these books, especially the ones that Timothy and Brother Legend recommend, I strongly suggest you also look for a study guide. A lot of the masterclass books and the advanced level books come with study guides, and I really strongly suggest anyone that is doing their own research and own learning to include the study guides. And a lot of them you can find online for free, and only get the study guides. Well, I only get the study guides that have the edu ending on the website. So stick to scholarly, educational, those types of resources when you get these books and get the study guides.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's important. Go ahead, Kuma.
Like full disclosure, like similar to Jonathan Majors, I even try to remember his name. It's triggering because I went through the same thing, lost everything because of a white woman, and the story is the same. And something that I didn't realize was the sabotage within my marriage from the black community because they didn't like seeing that, and their reasons why. Don't blame them. Learn about it after. The issue is when we as a black community gets an example of that survival technique isn't going to work, and we can see an example when you're a black man and you think that you can play the game and she's going to talk to the police for you. No, she has all power over the police over you. So he's an example. And there's something in like philosophy, whereas when I see somebody lose, I still kind of honor them. I honor their fight. For instance, if we saw a story where a black woman was beaten by their white partner and this was done to them, we'd have sympathy. I would probably still say it serves her right, but I don't think with the same vindictive spite of the divestors, the race traitors and stuff like that. I mean, he learned his lessons. Well, I don't know if he's learned, if he ends up back with another snow bunny, and maybe he didn't, but it's the attitude we have towards it as a people. They've managed to get inside our spirit, and we could look at a black man and say in Creole, it's a good for her. A good for him. It's good that it happened to him and not me because he was stupid. I managed to beat this race game. He didn't. He got it wrong. He made wrong choices. So the thing is, when I go outside, if I look like him, I'm going to get associated with him regardless. So it might be said, and you might say because he's a divested, that's all right. And I expect pushback. I want to hear the pushback, but I don't think it's good for us as a people to anyone who ends up divesting to and with us seeing the bad result, we should highlight it. But there's still one of us that was trying to make it through this game and pick wrong choices and ain't going to make it. Like some of our ancestors, all of our ancestors didn't make it.
Okay, so I'm not mad at what you said, and let me explain it a different way. So it's like you're a mouse that was been told your whole life that the mouse trap is a safe place to be, and you actually believe it, that the mouse trap is a safe place to eat some cheese. You see the cheese, and you go for the mouse trap. We done told you in other ways, you done acted in roles. We done you done played a mouse trapped in a mouse trap on TV. But you gonna go ahead and do it anyway. Okay. All right, cool. But understand that when you get trapped in that mouse trap, the other mice can't save you. So that's really, I feel like, where the sisters be coming from, where they're saying, if you go ahead and eat the cheese on that mouse trap, you're gonna get trapped, and we not about to, bend over backwards to try to get you out that trap and try to march up and down the street like we would if he wasn't in a relationship with her and something had happened and she tried to take him down. Like, that would have been a whole different vibe. We would have been upset. There would have been think pieces all over TikTok of people saying, but the thing is, he had, as a black man in the position that he's in, and what he claimed he said he represented, he should have known his allegiance should lie with a black woman. Like, even in his audio where he's talking about how he's a great black man and he represents the people and all this other, but you're not with a sister, and so who you're supposed to be anti-mousetrap. You're supposed to be mouse freedom. But then you're gonna go in the mousetrap and then you do it, and now after you done did it, the sisters that you betrayed by going into that mousetrap, instead of bringing your cheese back to the community, now we're gonna look at you like you messed up. But at the same time, I hear what you're saying, because you're saying now that he's been caught in that mousetrap, he should learn his lesson. That don't mean we won't accept him back at some point. I know there are sisters out there that don't want to hear that. We don't like, once you go bunny, you're gonna come back funny. I don't know. I'm trying to make it rhyme, but you know what I'm saying. Don't come back. You're gonna smell funny. Like, don't come back over here. So I get it, but at the same time, you're right, and that's how I feel as well. Is once a brother learned his lesson, he did the crime, he gonna do the time by himself. But after that's over, yeah, you know what I'm saying, you can come on back, and you know what I'm saying.
I agree with you with that. That's what I mean. I can't even remember his name. I just remember Majors most of the time because I don't want to associate with him because he's a celebrity. Like, they're the leaders in this type of thing. But I hear what you're saying as well. But I know a group of Belizeans on an island who've been brainwashed into thinking they are there to be toys for tourists when they show up. And you can't tell, you sit there and try to intellectually explain the cheese and the trap and everything. And you're going to have to do it by showing them an example.
I'll be honest, and I'll be vulnerable here. I was close to being in a similar trap at one point in my life. Not that I was in a full-blown relationship like this person here, but there was a interesting individual that could have got me in a real jam at one point. I walked away from that situation after I saw what I saw with the police when they arrived, and basically I told this person to leave my residence, and they didn't want to go, and she didn't. I'm gonna say she because I know some of y'all gonna get confused with the whole they thing. Let's not do that. Don't do that. All right. So she did not want to leave, and the police got there, because I called the police because she's throwing stuff and acting like entitled to this space, right? Call the police, and the police get to my house. I tell them I want her gone, and they tell me, "You sure she can't stay?" And I was mind blown. I'm like, if I was a black man in her house and she called the police, you're telling me you would ask if I can stay another night? Like, that made no sense. Like, I know you wouldn't treat me this way. And they both two police officers, one white woman, one indigenous Hispanic man, both sat there and just kind of like, let it sit there. They stood there and had their hands in their pockets, just kind of, you sure she can't stay another night? I'm like, no, I want her gone. So after I saw that scenario and how that played out, I came running far away from her. And unlike Jonathan Majors, however, that was my low point. And I got with my wife as just her boyfriend. Like, we started talking, like, after that situation, whatever, start talking, and I got with her. And then the highest point in my life was with my wife. And I was like, oh yeah, nah, I'm sticking with you. But so unlike Jonathan Majors, who at the height of his career, he would chose to be around her. So it's kind of like a different scenario. So that's also a nuance that kind of messes it up, because now he's with Megan Good, where before he had the Disney, he had all these contracts, the money was rolling in. He's about to have a whole Disney movie. He's about to have a whole thing going on, and then he was with her. So that's a little bit different too. But
But
that's the thing.
there's a term that we use in the UK, and it's called capped at 40%. So it's like my sympathy is capped at 40%, and 40% is the minimum that you need to get past to pass an exam in university. So as long as you get 40%, it's like, okay, you've passed. And when I say capped at 40%, it means that, oh, I fundamentally acknowledge that something is wrong here, but my sympathy is capped because like there's foolishness in the mix. So like with as you said with Jonathan Majors, like, hey man, you can't be there saying, hey, I'm a great black man in the likeness of like Martin Luther King and a quote unquote Obama, and then like you're there saying, hey, these two men have black wives, but I'm with this blonde haired English woman, and like likewise, I think another example that I say, oh, my sympathy is capped at 40%, is that with Meghan Markle, because Meghan Markle gets an avalanche of racism. But I'm like, hey man, sis, you're not stupid. Like, Google is there. You know what kind of family you were marrying into. So like, whilst I acknowledge that the vicious racism that you have to navigate is horrible, my sympathy is capped at 40% because like there were several foolish decisions that put you in the position that you're in. So yeah, that's exactly
A
how I
lot
feel
of
about
people,
Jonathan.
a lot of people don't know this, but right after Loving versus Virginia, um, the people that married outside the black community the most were black women. A lot of people don't know that. That was like a thing. Like, it switched now. Now it's the brothers, with 15% of brothers being married to non-black women, and in recent history, 24% of recent marriages are black men to non-black women. But yeah, there was a time in like the 70s, and I believe it was up till the 80s, where sisters did it more. And it is problematic because those sisters attempt to do the same as black men do so often, to wield patriarchy or a proximity to our oppressor to their benefit, but it's usually to their detriment, like with Meghan Markle. She should have known you're basically marrying into the clan. Like, do you expect them to treat you with love and roses? Like, like, you know. But anyway, Miss K, what's going on, Queen?
How you doing, sweetie, today? I just want to say two things. You know I don't stay long.
Go ahead.
How you gonna have a mixed race kid and raise it black? Now you know that other half ain't going for that. You know that, don't you? So when
Mm-hmm.
you ain't around, they sneaking and telling them in their ear, you have, you know what, and telling them all the colonizer things that they need to know to grow up to go against the other side of their. I got nephews that are basically biracial. They're a hot mess. They are a hot mess. My sister biracial, she a hot mess.
Mm.
My older sister, my baby sister, married to a rich YT man, and that is a catastrophe. A catastrophe. They forget their blackness, and he even uses the N word. My smallest, but he better not say it around me, or I'm telling
Mm.
you, I'm gonna have to talk to the cops.
Mm.
And
Mm.
first, and that guy that was in that y'all talking about. He go with Megan Good. I thought that was him. If I was her, I wouldn't have dated him after all that stuff. Now he don't got no money to contribute to the household because he fighting uh, the courts instead of crime. He could have been fighting crime in Disney. But the thing is with guys, they set them up from day one, honey. When they see
Mm-hmm.
you coming, they don't even want you in Hollywood, so they assign somebody to you. And that woman, that got him in trouble wasn't even pretty.
Nope.
She looked like
And
a
have a
hot
curve in
mess.
the family.
Yes, honey, she looked like a hot mess, so he gonna settle for that. If I was a black girl, I wouldn't even take him. Yeah, I wouldn't even take him. He have to do this one by himself, and then
Mm-hmm.
after all that, he gonna go get. So how he gonna get a below average YT woman, and then go to that black girl that's a 10?
Megan Good. Mm.
Yeah,
Mm.
so I don't. That's the part I didn't get. I didn't understand. So Megan Good a 10, and he was dating a 2.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Nah, that's all I had to say. But thank you for
Yeah.
letting me come up.
I heard that. Somebody said send them back to the ice storm. I can't. Appreciate you, Miss K. That's funny. Yeah, that was a PR stunt, but it's wild. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's wild. I would be tight because in another reality, he got with Megan Good first, and he's just doing his Disney movies like he's just the man. But
Can you guys help me? I don't know. Help me understand the psychology of like why like immediately after you left the relationship with your white woman broke down, you got with Megan Good, and why Megan Good would get with Jonathan Majors. It's like, and like sometimes I think about like the hypothetical of like, hey man, if Jonathan Majors, yeah, at the height of his career, had been with Megan Good, that would have been the new black A couple, and like none of this would have happened. None
none of
of it.
this.
Like
Well,
you never see like what I don't know what happened between Megan Good and her last husband. All I know is that they split
he
up.
was a preacher, or he
Yeah,
was
but
a he was she
you don't
was.
hear her out in public. You don't hear her out in public slandering him. I don't know what happened. All I know is that they broke up.
I don't know. So he was a pastor, and they were together for 10 years, and she was very different before she met him. She changed a lot when she met him, and
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know the ins and outs of their
Oh my gosh,
relationship,
shut your bitch ass
but
up.
wow, that's crazy.
Wow.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Once you're like that, you need to definitely silence yourself. TMT, yeah, block that dude. Like get like that. That
I
nonsense.
don't know what it is
Crazy.
tonight, y'all. I'm so sorry to everybody
It's the
that's
full
here.
moon, and they
I
must have done
That's
some type of
wild.
tiki torch ceremony on some other live, and then they were deciding to like, all right, troops go out and spam everybody else to like. And what's crazy is that they create social media bubbles for themselves, which means that the majority of what they're listening to is YT supremacist and conservative and Republican. So the majority of what they're listening to is that. You have to go out of your way to search for lives like this in order to then be able to attempt to infiltrate them and to spew your rhetoric and hate based off of what? Your bias, your inability to have empathy, your inability to connect with the side of your humanity, you know, that Homo sapien side, not the 2% Neanderthal side, not your recessive genes, but the part that actually comes from way deep down back in the day, your African side. Like that's, yeah, like it just,
Yeah.
As you said, man.
Nah, we about to follow. We following the rules tonight.
But
Nobody can come up if they don't have a profile picture.
yeah.
That's real. Go
But what
ahead.
I
As you
was
said,
saying
you know,
before
the
about
algorithm gives us what we're interested in, and like if you're a
I
white
I think
conservative.
Black Swan was trying to say
Oh,
something
sorry,
real
Black Swan. Am I
quick. I
speaking
forgot.
over you? My bad.
it's okay. I always get I don't know what it is. Maybe I need like a better microphone or something. Okay, so what I was saying about Megan Good was that she was very different before she met her husband. I think that there were a lot of sacrifices that she had to make for her relationship. Now, I don't want to go well, I don't want to offend anybody, but when we talk about Christianity and the way that it aligns with patriarchy, like it's in the Bible, just the way that women are, you know, spoken on and spoken of and spoken about and what their place is and what their role is, right? And we see it in the church, those dynamics between men and women. And I think that there was a lot that she had to change. She got with him and she was completely different and she was with him for 10 years. Now, they didn't speak about whatever it was that broke them up, but the minute that relationship was over, she was back to Megan before she got married. Right back to her old self. So she's coming out of something too. And I mean it's definitely at the hands of, you know, colonization, I would say. Like that's the root of it all, right? And I think that they were both affected by something and came together. And I don't know that they're coming together based on like the trauma that they experienced. You know what I mean? There wasn't enough time for them to really heal after they went through what they went through. So I think that that's where that dynamic, I think that that's how they ended up together, if that makes sense. I think that has a lot to do with it. 10 years of changing yourself, because you know what I'm saying? Like, it would be one thing if she went into it the same way that she was, or if she came out of it the way that she was when she was in it. But she went right back to her old self. She didn't waste no time. They broke up a week later. We saw her showing her body again. You know what I'm saying? Like, posting herself. And she wasn't doing that when she was in a relationship with him. She was a lot more conservative.
Oh, that was after the breakup. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
Yep.
listen. The green dress video will be infamous for me. Y'all might not know what I'm talking about, but there was a green dress video that came out. But I remember my wife said that was after she broke up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Christianity Queen is not a
I think
country.
their agents is what brought them together. Personally, I just think it was two agents sitting in an office saying, "How are we going to fix this?" Well, Megan could use a boost or whatever because honestly, she was with a preacher and that was really a very public relationship. I didn't get a lot of Christianity feelings vibes from that relationship personally, but I think it was all agent. I think it was all uh, you know, them trying to prepare some stuff.
I think any pastor that is married to Megan Good is not a pastor whose church you should be at. That I mean, there's no way you're gonna preach to me about anything married to a movie star. Come on, like Christians. I don't know what's up with y'all, man, but y'all have strayed far from the path of righteousness and into like what do they call that, prosperity doctrine. Okay, you guys have gone far into marrying movie stars, wearing expensive clothes. I don't know if y'all have ever seen the Instagram preachers with sneakers. Look that up. Preachers, wait, is it preachers with sneakers?
Preachers with sneakers. TD Jakes had $22,000 sneakers. $22,000
Right.
red Yeezys.
Well, like, what is going on, y'all? This is getting, they marrying movie stars now. Like, and y'all gonna be all humble and let Jesus humble you and give me more money.
What about the
And
preacher
with
that
your
said that
money,
everybody?
I will marry and ball out on movie stars. Like, this is crazy. This is wild, y'all. Nah, you should
But
not be in that church.
when you really look at Christianity, like I was in a debate. You know, I love the Tesla Spaces on TikTok. I was
Yeah.
in a debate, and the topic was, why aren't you a Christian? And someone was talking about how self-serving it was for him and his own journey through life. And I was like, okay, that's all fine and dandy. But look at the atrocities that Christianity collectively has caused to people for thousands of years. You cannot sit here and tell me that this God you worship is just. I don't want to go too far deep into it, but when we talk about slavery, when we talk about what's happened to children, when we talk about how much money gets exploited from people, when we talk about the amount of SA and all of those things, you cannot sit here and tell me that Christianity is the way to go. Look at what
Mm.
it's done to people collectively, and it's still happening to people.
And
It's
it tells you to give at your neediest, at your lowest. When you're
right.
at your lowest and your faith is starting to falter, give to the altar. Give more. When your money's running out, give more. Don't
Yeah.
buy that food that you need. Don't buy those clothes your children need. Don't worry about that. God will give it back to you 10 times if you give it to me. Like, that is
Yeah.
wild.
Well, in
Most
the way that it affects women, right? Like, I'm just, that's one thing for me that was just like, I cannot. The way that women are portrayed in the Bible and just tossed off to the side. And like when
Mm,
I hear people talk about their marriages, right? Christian marriages, the man submits to God and the woman submits to man, right? The woman is the helpmate. I've even got like I've been in these spaces before where black men are talking, and it's like these men that have this disdain for women, and you guys are Eve. You guys are evil. That's why you have a menstrual cycle. The things I have heard them say about women, I'm just like, no,
that's
it's not
wild.
it.
I'm
It's not
I'm
it.
so glad I'm so far removed from that. Me and my wife came up out the church. The type of church I went to was deeply rooted in slavery and like slave traditions. Deeply, like, we washed feet. The opening scene in that movie Emancipation, the movie that came out after Will Smith slapped Chris Rock, where he played an enslaved ancestor that whipped Pete. I don't know if y'all know who whipped Pete was. But in the opening scene, he's washing his wife's feet because that was part of communion. In the whole movie, he's a Christian, and that was part of communion. So we did that every first Sunday in the church that I grew up in. It was my very, almost a lot of traditions I didn't have to learn from a history book. A lot of like slave like traditions that went on in America, it came directly from my parents and my grandparents. Like, they actually still did that when I was born, like when I was young. But
You ever
anyway,
notice? You ever notice
yeah.
how like in major cults, like in major world known cults, like what's the one? The Morning Star and all these other like cults that like have been broadcasted throughout society, like how the main religion that they worship is like Christianity. Isn't it weird? Like and the things that these people do in these cults are horrendous, right? You got essay, you got grape,
Mm,
you have abuse, mental and physical. It's just, the list goes on. Even sometimes unalivings. You understand? Like
mm-hmm,
it goes
mm-hmm,
very, very deep. So
mm-hmm.
all these things rooted with Christianity is like literally insanity to me. Sometimes I feel like I don't know. It's just a little weird that it's not Buddhism, it's not Hinduism, it's not like it's just Christianity. You know what I mean? Like, isn't that weird to think about?
yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
like the
They turned
entire world.
everything good into bad.
Yep, the entire world literally has never been in this much turmoil until Christianity and the subsect of that, which is Islam, came into the picture.
Mm,
Like the entire when the world was the most at peace was when people were practicing the majority of Kemetic history, I mean Kemetic spirituality and African spirituality. That's when the whole
mm-hmm.
world was the most at peace.
Yeah.
Like people don't understand that like how many lives have literally been snatched off the face of the earth like for ideals that literally have zero like they'll mention things that historically happened, but at the end of the day, there is a large chunk of the biblical texts that never actually happened in the first place. And we want to pretend like all of these things weren't just like cherry picked from all these other spiritual concepts that were primarily stolen from Africa, and then try and regurgitate it back to people. Like it's a tactic, it's a tool. They use it for power plays, and they use it to justify the mass unalivings of so many people. Like you can't sit here and tell me that that religious foundation is somehow doing the world a favor. Like that, the numbers don't add up. You can't tell me that like, oh well, the reason why Africa fell is because Africans were worshiping pagan gods. Like what? No, Christianity was developed out of stealing African spirituality, but they mutated it, they altered it, they distorted it, and then they regurgitated it back in an attempt to justify all the amount of unalivings that they wanted to do. And it's just like, people, please wake up, please.
Yeah. Appreciate y'all for helping me with the live goal. Shout out to Chanel and Francesca. Francesca's the moderator in my Discord, y'all. B1initiative.org. If anybody else wants to help moderate the space, that's really the community center for what we're building on all these other platforms. If anybody else wants to help moderate, we need moderators. I will have to verify you, speak with you on the phone, make sure you be one, but anybody that wants to moderate, we got to make sure you on point, you know what I'm saying? Because it's a space where we're funneling our community to come together, speak on different ideas. It's really organized to be a think tank, so we're coming up with solutions for our communities. It's kind of a place where we can brainstorm. We talk about all the topics above and many more. If you got a question on your mind, you want to do something for your family, you got a book you're learning about, feel free to share it with us in the Discord, b1initiative.org. Go ahead, CB.
Can I add your Discord and your website to the Melanated Digital Library I'm building? I asked you when you were on another panel, but I'm really, one of the collections I have is going to be podcasts. Obviously what you're doing, because I think it's important we find we can find trusted guidance in what we're learning, because a lot of people want to learn, but I feel like the guidance can be lead some off the right path. So I'd like to include your B1 Initiative website and your Discord.
Absolutely, sister. Yeah, go ahead. Honestly, the Discord is not a. It's still there right now, but I'm trying to grow it to the point where it's not like my Discord, but it's like our Discord, where it's like more creators can just bring, like, honestly, creators can look at it as a place where you can, like, a savings account for your followers. Like, if you promote the Discord and let's say something happens, TikTok takes your account down. Now your followers don't know where to find you. They don't know what's going on with you. You're just hoping that if you make a backup page, they'll recognize your face. Or you can promote the Discord to your followers, have the followers in the Discord, then boom, everybody's been talking, everyone's together, and just be like, hey, follow me here, guys, I'm here now. And then everyone will just come together there. So, that's ideally where I'm trying to take it for as far as social media content. As long as, you're propagating Pan-Africanism, then we can do that. It's got to be, be one. Like, that's the thing. Anybody switch up and get off code, it's a very conscious place. The brothers and sisters in there, shout out to the brothers and sisters in the Discord, because they'll even hold me accountable. Like, it's very much studied people in that Discord. Like, everyone's on point. So that's what gives me the confidence to even say some of the things that I say that are so nuanced. Like, I already done vetted it with the family. So so that's why that's where it's powerful. So I would say anybody that wants to put b1initiative.org, don't look at it as mine. it's just a community place, and we got sisters like Francesca moderating. I got brother Draco, he's a moderator too. Certain people are moderators. If you want a special role in the Discord, just DM us and we can do that. Appreciate y'all. Thanks for helping with the gifts. Thanks for helping with the live
Yeah, but
goal.
listen,
Yeah.
you mentioned that like one of the most like insidious parts of like the modern church is that, as you said, they extract some people at their lowest. I've seen with my own eyes because I grew up in the church as well, and I've seen it with my own eyes where like people have said like this is such an insidious thing. I'm sowing a seed of faith by sowing I'm hard up right now, so I'm gonna sow my rent and hope my rent money and hope that God blesses me with some kind of abundance. And I'm like, God blessed you by giving you your rent money. Pay your rent. And do you know what? I think fundamentally, I think this is probably one of the reasons why so many black people have an issue with pro-blackness. Because so many of us are used to because the overarching like philosophy in our community is Christianity. It's the most popular philosophy. And people are so used to Christianity being able to say that you're a Christian and like not having to have the lifestyle that leads to be a Christian. So you saying once you say I'm a Christian, no one can tell you that you're not a Christian because all you have to say is I believe in Jesus. You can live a life that is completely like contradictory to Christian values. You can have $1 million sneakers. You can sleep around. You can have a movie actress wife. You can do nothing in your community. You can spout like anti-blackness. All these things that are non-Christian. You can do that all the time, and nobody can question your Christianity. And people are shocked when black people turn around and say, "Hey, you're just not pro-black." I know that you'd like to feel pro-black, but you're not pro-black. People are because I think a lot of the time people are shocked because they've never had like an ideology where like the ideology is scrutinized by the other people, like because Christians don't say that you can't, as a Christian you can't say that another person is not a Christian because it's supposed to be and like you can't really if you're a conservative you can't tell someone that they're not a conservative, or like same if you're a Democrat you can't tell someone that they're not a Democrat. Like pro-blackness, I think because there's somewhat of an iron wall because you can't go into any pro-black space and start saying, "Hey, I'm pro-black, but I just date who I want to date," and like people are just going to turn around and say, "Oh, you're just not pro-black. This is probably not the space for you." So, and I think people struggle with that, like being held to account, like because people would like to say the right things, but like when your lifestyle is scrutinized along to like so it's in step with your personal philosophy, people can't stand it. Absolutely cannot stand it.
Yeah, that's true. And then the thing about Christianity is it has circular reasoning. I actually learned this from going to a Christian school. Oh man, they tried to brainwash me there. But yeah, circular reasoning, it's true because the Bible says so. The Bible is never wrong. Why? Because the Bible says so. It's the word of God, right? And then, well, how do you know the word of God isn't wrong? Because the Bible says so. Like it just kind of just always it's a circular reasoning. It's like everything is true because the Bible says so, and the Bible is infallible. So that's why
And then like when people say that, when people espouse those kind of things, my first question is, have you actually read the Bible? Because like I come from a family where they actually made me read the Bible, and like I was just like, what the hell? I was like, what the hell?
It contradicts itself.
Yeah, I was like, this book contradicts. I was like, this is a compilation. This contradicts itself. There's multiple accounts.
Yeah, multiple.
I'm just like, if you actually look at like a classic example is like the Bible doesn't even have a consensus on how Jesus died. There's not a consensus on how he died on the cross, because if you look at this, the first three the Gospels have different accounts. Some of the Gospels say that he said that his last words were, "It is done," and he died. Other Gospels say that he said his last words were, "Father, Father, why have you forsaken me?" If you look at Genesis, there's two different concurrent accounts of how the world was created. Like it's complete. Like the Bible is full of contradictions because it's a compilation full of different writers from different places over 1,000 years. So
Yeah.
like when people say like the Bible's infallible, the Bible in and of it by definition is fallible because it's not one account.
Yeah.
But
What blew
that
my
is yeah.
mind was what blew my mind, and I mean, it's a small thing, but it just shows how crafted the Bible is the fact that Lucifer is not the original name of Satan, and that Lucifer was a pope that was writing a different version of the Bible, like he was translating the Bible his way, and he was not a pope, I'm sorry, a priest. So he's a priest translating the Bible, and then there's another priest translating the Bible, and they're competing for who's going to be the better translation and who's going to get the king's approval. And because the one, I don't know the other guy's name, but because he was jealous of Lucifer, he put Lucifer as the name of Satan in his translation of the Bible, and that's how Lucifer became the name of Satan. Like what are we doing here? Like like what are we doing here? We're just making up like
It's so crazy when you go down the Christian rabbit hole because one of the things I discovered when I was like a teenager, I was just like, so wait, the Bible hasn't always existed. That the Bible is a compilation, and somebody had to choose that compilation of which books go into the Bible, and that
yeah.
the Gospels, even the four Gospels that we have and the New Testament that we have, it was chosen like those, and it was chosen from a multitude of books. So like the four Gospels that made it into the canonical Bible, it's a fraction of the Gospels that were available at the time. And that there's the Gospel of Thomas, there's the Gospel of Judas that just didn't make it into the
None
Bible,
of
but
which
all of which
are none of which are names of that day. Also,
yes, of course, but like
there's no John,
of course,
like
and like the fact that like the Gospels that were chosen were simply chosen because like they had there was a concurrent message that they could put out. But like the other Gospels that were available at the time are no less valid. And when you go in and read the other Gospels, whoo, mind trip. The kind of stuff that they're saying in those other Gospels is like it would send you on a complete mind trip.
yeah,
And
completely different.
and
Yeah.
another thing like is that do you know like we don't know who wrote the Gospels. Like Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John were names that were attributed to those texts
But they didn't write it.
decades after, years
Yeah,
and years after they were written. Like we have
yeah,
no idea. We have no idea who wrote most of the Bible is mostly anonymous. We have no idea who wrote these books. It's fascinating. Like when you actually go into it, you're like, whoa, this Bible, this
yeah,
like Christian thing is a trip.
yeah,
And like
yeah,
when people like will look you in the face and they'll say the Bible is infallible, it's the infallible word of God. It's just it's for me it's the person clarifying that they have never read the history around the Bible and that they have very limited knowledge of like the religion that they claim to follow.
yeah. John
Anytime
Henry.
somebody,
Go ahead.
oh my bad, King.
No,
Um,
you go ahead.
oh sorry. I was just gonna say that anytime somebody tries to hit me with the argument of it's the word of God, it's the word of God, I tell them to go to the first two pages of the book between the two covers. If it says published by, then it is not the word of God.
Yeah, it's absolutely
There's a
not.
barcode on the back of that book, then it is not the word of God.
Yeah. And John Henry Clark says he questions the intelligence of anyone that says the Bible is all always true. He said, like, anyone that believes the Bible is 100% true, he questions their intelligence. And I think that's a good rule of, I shouldn't say that word. I think that's a good rule to have. I'll say that.
I agree, and brother, do you know what? Whenever like people say that it's the infallible word of God, I just say okay. Obviously, me and you don't speak Aramaic or Greek, but let's go back and find because obviously the King James version is a translation, and like okay, let's find the original text. But then there's a conundrum. We don't have the original texts. All we have is translations from hundreds of years in the early church. Like if you go and ask someone, all right, bring me the original copy of Mark, bring me the original copies of Paul's epistles, bring me the original copies of Leviticus, of Genesis. Nobody has them. We don't have them. All we have is translations from like hundreds of years later. And
Yeah.
we all know the nature of Chinese whispers. If you tell me something and then I go and tell Black Swan something and then Black Swan goes and tells D something, what you said, and by the time it gets all the way to D, it's a completely different, like, because of the nature of like oral communication is that you hear it, you take it in your head, and then you try and replicate it as best you can, but it's never going to be a direct replication.
Right. No. Yeah, and then we've got the marketing scheme behind the characters with Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo, making Adam and Eve look like um what's Jim and Pam from The Office, like just making, nobody wants to see Pam naked. I don't know. She was just like the basic type of bagel, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, yeah, like how do you get there? How do you get to that point where we're talking about the first people in existence? And even now, as a Pan-African Black man that has done a lot of unlearning in his life, I sit here now, and when someone brings up the name Adam and Eve, I still struggle to think of two, like a brother and a sister with locks and deep melanin, like, you know what I'm saying? Like the first image that comes to mind is, like someone I don't want to see naked, but a naked, pudgy bellied, hueless human. You know what I'm saying?
A huge part of like the marketing campaign has also been the movies. Like
Mm-hmm.
Devil, like y'all, I'm not sure if anybody remembers like the
I
old
know what you're
school.
talking about. Yeah, they used to come on Easter.
Yeah.
On
Yeah, the
Easter.
Bible, like that movie, it's like it came
Oh,
with the
the
cassette.
Bible, right?
Joseph, that nonsense. Like, yo, oh my gosh, like
These
the
movies were
amount.
sick.
Yeah, and not a single Black person in any of them, yet all these
Not
souls happening
yeah,
like in very Black nations. Like, what? Like,
crazy. Not
it's
a single person of color in the whole movie. And yeah,
mhm.
there were all these tribes and all these other people talking to
Yeah.
Jesus, and not a single one of them. I
Yo,
forgot about that. You're
Ten
right.
Commandments is one of the most
Ten
disrespectful
Commandments.
films. Like they showed the ancient Kemites as being Europeans, and then they showed the Nubians accurately. They showed Nubians as Black. That was the only part of the entirety of that film that was even remotely close to accurate. That and the way that the way that the outfits looked, that's about it. Everything else complete and utter historically inaccurate.
Crazy.
It's just, oh man, their campaigns are just, it's never ending.
Dang. Yeah, man. Well, Christianity ain't it, y'all. I did go see Umar speak at a church, and when I was there, they spoke about Black Christ, and even he touched on the topic. It reminded me of my youth where we would go to pro-Black churches. They exist. Those churches are the reason why the civil rights movement was able to, I won't say thrive, but persevere. The reason we have Pan Africanism is because of Black church. It, however, was not the same thing as whatever this is behind me. It wasn't this. Whatever she's doing to, I don't know who she praying to. That's not what they were doing. Ethiopianism, if y'all want to look it up, Ethiopianism was the origin of Pan Africanism. It started in Central South Africa, uh, and basically, it was brothers and sisters there that were told that their blackness meant that they were innately sinful. Um, they started to look in the Bible and they said, hey, wait a minute, Ethiopia is in Africa. And Ethiopia is the ancient name of Africa. Like all of Africa at one point was just called Ethiopia, but we'll talk about that another time. But so they said, so I'm not talking about Ethiopia the country. It's called Ethiopianism, meaning us, black people. And it was them saying, hey, we're the people in the Bible, so we're not evil. We're the ones that are in the Bible. And that inspired Marcus Garvey to like start looking at things a little bit different. And I'm sorry, before Marcus Garvey too. But Marcus Garvey did study under an Ethiopianist from South Africa, but I forgot. W.E.B. Du Bois and who else started the movement, Timothy, here in America?
Started the movie. Oh, you said
Pan-Africanism. Because Marcus Garvey joined them, but before that.
Dang, I forget his name.
I forget his name too, man.
Yeah.
I forget his name. He's not too popular. He didn't get too many speeches. But
yeah.
But
because
anyway,
I have his image. I have his like. I think there's a photo.
I think it starts with the N.
How would you say?
I feel like it starts with an N. But either way, that's not too important to the story. What I'm trying to say is Ethiopianism started out as a religious movement where black people saw themselves in the Bible. That branched out, became Pan-Africanism, became Rastafarianism, became all these other things where black people started to say, hey, we're not going to keep believing we're these evil, dirty, nasty people. We're going to start having some pride in ourselves. That also gave birth to the AME church here in America. And then eventually the Baptist church started to catch on as well. Eventually we get the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. We get which is where Martin Luther King, becomes a preacher. We get the UNIA, where Marcus Garvey is the first one to unite our people under just our cultural identity, our racial identity, rather than having any religion attached to it. Marcus Garvey was the first one to get brothers and sisters together, no matter the religion. And then we get the Nation of Islam as well, where Fard Muhammad and Elijah Muhammad were members of the UNIA, and so was Malcolm's parents, who then we get Malcolm X. So that's what I'm saying. The whole lineage, all of that starts. You trace it back to Pan-Africanism, and then you can trace it back even further to Ethiopianism, which was if it wasn't for Christianity, we kind of wouldn't have figured it out, but we used it instead of letting it use us for once, and then that's what. But I just want to remind y'all, and John Henry Clark makes this distinction as well, that there are pro-black religious black people, but will they put their people before their religion is always the question. And John Henry Clark says if he had to choose a religion for us, it would be Islam that he would choose. Don't sleep. West African Islam is not the same as Northeastern African Islam. In West Africa, they turned it on its head the same way Christians did in the South and brought African spirituality to Christianity, shouting, even how the preacher speaks, like, how we do call and response in our choir, like, dang, I'm trying to think of a song. This is the day. I don't know now. I'm trying to think of a song. There's a lot of Christian songs with call and response. I just can't think of one right now. But when the leader says something, then the crowd says something. Then the leader sings something else, then the crowd sings something else. That call and response is from Africa. Washing feet, that's from Africa. The way that light candlelight ceremony under their blood. Yo, Tia is hilarious. I cannot. Under their blood. Yo, that video is crazy. He cover me under their blood. Me and my wife were cracking up with that video. Oh man, if y'all don't know the Under the Blood video, that is hilarious. Jeez, I said, come on, man. All right, I'm done. I cannot with you.
No, that,
Anyway,
I think.
yeah, go ahead, CB. What's
Oh,
up?
sorry, my bad.
You go after CB.
There's a guy, you guys can look him up. His name is Lemuel Haynes, Lemuel, and I'm bringing up leadership in white churches. His mother was white. He was born in 17 something something, died in the early 1800s. His whole story is something we don't hear about, but it's very interesting. Anyways, he went to seminary school. He was adopted by a white family, went to seminary school, and ended up being the first black um, minister of an all-white church back in the late 1700s, which makes it really interesting time for something like that to happen. I just wanted to throw that in there if any of y'all are interested in, since we're talking about religion and how black men seem to always lead the white people. White people in religion always. Jesus was black. Lemuel Haynes was black.
Yeah. Go ahead, Africa. You was gonna say something?
You know, I think the biggest difference between, because I always think, how is it that people were able to mass organize in the 60s and the 70s in a way that we're not able to mass organize now? And I think the biggest difference between now and the civil rights era, where you had the nation, you had the Black Panthers, you had the Christian movements, I think the biggest difference between now and then is the church. I think the church and the nature of the church, because like, with all the problems I have with the church, like the church mobilized around Martin Luther King, and they were key in pushing for like during the civil rights movement, like and for organizing black pro-blackness. Whereas now, I think since the advent of prosperity doctrine, it has completely compromised like religious leaders and religious institutions within the Christian church.
Mm-hmm.
You have people.
Peace, Timothy.
The 401k that you call it in America, the tax-free status as a charity. So
Mm-hmm.
sorry, I don't know. I forgot what the name of it is called. But like obviously the tax-free status, if you're a church, you don't pay taxes in the same way business does. All these things, I think, all these things are part of why you have like black people, you have these massive black churches who don't have any position on black issues, and it's for me it's bizarre. It's absolutely bizarre where like you have like nobody else does this. So like if you look at Islam is a mobilizing force for the freedom of Palestine. Like throughout the Islamic world, there is like almost pure consensus regarding like the freedom of Palestine. If you look at like even white America, there is so much consensus about like they have a nationalistic version of Christianity, and like there is consensus on like no, God loves America, Jesus supports our settler colony, and like it's only black people who don't utilize their religion, and like Africans who don't utilize our religion to push for our socio-political interests. Everybody else does that, and for me, it's just bizarre. It's so bizarre, and I think honestly, that is at the core of why we are not like mobilizing the way we did, because like if you ask the average black person outside of work, the next place that they spend most of the time is church.
Yeah,
and like
we just talked about that.
If the church is absorbing all of this kind of time and energy from black people and is not focusing on our socio-political issues, then like it's obvious why we're in the position that we are in. And I don't know if it's going to change, because prosperity doctrine is so infectious and it's so popular. And like I think, and if it, do you know what I think? As people get poorer and as living standards stagnate, it's almost like prosperity doctrine becomes more popular as people get poorer. It's fascinating how it is, and it's like I don't know what's going to change, but like until like the church breaks the hold that prosperity doctrine has on it, where like, hey, you don't need to worry about race, you don't need to worry about like socioeconomic issues. All you need to worry is about if you pray hard enough, God will get you that car. God will pay your rent. God will pay your children's school fees. Like, it's just crazy for me, man. And I don't know. I don't know what the remedy is, but I definitely, I think I've definitely identified like a significant part of the issue in terms of why we're not able to do what we did.
Me and my wife just talked about how B1 Initiative is going to be our church. We just said that. We said we're going to work. We're working on a personal like business like for ourselves that we're building. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to like put more information out there about Pan-Africanism, and continue to have these conversations on Twitter. And like she's helping me run all of like my social media accounts, and like we're just going to do it together. Like, so that's kind of funny that you said that. Like, so like we're splitting our time up in a way that is hopefully going to have a meaningful impact in our community. I feel like it has already, just by the amount of people that have reached out to me and said like, I learned something new. I read a book. Thanks for helping me, learn this thing, that. Like, people come and I feel like they're getting some value. So I'm like, we're going to keep doing that in the place of church. And so we're going to, other than when we're working on ourselves for what we're doing, we're going to spend time. And that's funny because that's what Nia is about. That's what today's the 5th day of Kwanzaa. That's what it's about, is aligning your personal goals and purpose with what's going to also benefit us as a people. So that's the 5th day of Kwanzaa. That's the gift that we give to our community. Let me go to the next guest, and then I'm gonna shut it down. Petty Prince, give us your age, race, and pronouns, please.
Hey, 28. He, him, African American.
All right, talk to us.
I'm gonna keep it up. I'm gonna be honest. Either the African American got to reform Christianity, or they should not be practicing Christianity at all. I'm gonna be honest with you. That is my view. To be 100%. I'm tired of going to churches of African American people having Caesar Borgia as Yeshua. I am tired of it. Genuinely tired of it. And knowing the context of what that was and what that is to our people. And because I mean, I'm still at the same time respectful of the practices people decide to have, and also of the fact that with these type of practices, when you have different versions, different iterations, that it is not so black and white. There's a lot of things that of that book you can take philosophically. However, it just makes me upset that this is happening to the community. It makes me very upset. And that it is over glorified, overpraised. So that being said, we have a different context than, YT people that are Christians, because it's never really talked about in either, to be honest with you, in either churches. But, I would say that Black people would have more context of this definitely over a YT Christian church, if I'm being 100% honest. And I don't mean to come from ignorance. I don't. Or come from a sense of feeling, because I don't want to attack anybody in their beliefs. However, for me, it never felt right. Never felt right for me. So I would like to hear, your opinion and the panel's opinions on that. But me personally, I feel like it's either has to be reformed or just not practiced at all. Definitely, I'll leave it at that.
I would say good luck with that. People are gonna cling to it because B1, what's going on? Black Show, appreciate you coming through. But yeah, People have been sold the lie that, you know, we don't know what happens after we are unalived, after we move on. So that not knowing, you know, the one thing about being conscious, being aware as human beings is that our brain knows that it's not always going to live forever. Um, or at least that's how our brain feels in this realm. Like our brain is, you know, here. Our spirit is in, you know, other, you know, dimensions as well, but our brain is here in the three-dimensional world, and it knows that it is an organ that will one day no longer function. And so because of that, that is the one sure true truth that it knows. We have a fear of death. I think it was Alexander the Great, not that I would say he's a person we should quote, but he said, fear of death drives all men. That's what he said. And so in different ways, he's right, especially about Europeans. But when it comes to Christians, that fear is what drives them to stay Christian. Because even if you told them that everything in that book isn't true, they're still going to be afraid that it could be true. And if it is, they're going to go to hell. So they don't want that. So it's like, you know, you might be right. You could speak complete facts, but you could be wrong, and I'd rather just not risk it. So that's where they've got us.
No, you're right, because here's the thing, right? Because every time, you know, I would say that me and my, you know, my siblings, you know, we're a different generation, and our family, you know, obviously they're very traditional, and they said, like, you know, they say the exact same argument. They said, I'd rather be right than wrong in that situation. And
Yeah.
I can't blame them for that. But to be honest with you, I also am in the same mindset of that, how much bondage is attached to believing that. And yeah,
Mm.
of course, if I perish and then I'm wrong, of course I'm facing the ultimate price, right? You know, but
I'm
I
sorry.
don't.
I'm thankful that I'm at the place where I don't believe in any of that BS anymore.
Same
Like
here.
you know what I'm saying? Like, yo,
Yeah.
it's such a freeing feeling. Like, no, y'all, there is no hell. They just tell you that so you listen to Massa. That's all it was about. They just want you to listen. African spirituality, what's right and wrong for me might be different for you, because in spirituality, everyone is different. Everyone is their own spirit. So it might be wrong for me to drink alcohol, but it might be right for you because maybe you're antisocial. I don't know. Like, and
Right.
alcohol loosens you up. I don't know. I'm making up something, but you would go to an elder that would help you guide your spirituality. But at the end of the day, the lessons that you learn during different times would come from doing different things, and it was specific to the individual. Now, how are you going to function in a society that requires oneness and obedience and servitude? How are you going to do that where everyone believes their own version of right and wrong? So
Right.
they had to come up with something where this is right and wrong for everyone. What is right and wrong to me, your ruler, must be right and wrong to you, the people that serve me. So that's where we get religion, organized spirituality, and you know, it gets evil from there. But thank
Absolutely.
goodness I don't believe that.
Absolutely. No, it was the most liberating feeling when I decided to, you know, just obviously, you know, it didn't come without a price. When I said this didn't make no sense, better believe I got that whooping. Better believe I got that whooping. But even past that, when I'm in my room by myself, I was like, you know, I don't regret what I what I think what I did. You know, so
Yeah.
um I think that honestly, you know, I definitely want that, because, you know, and definitely, you know, it's a shame, because I mean, a huge part of what I know is from the people that still believe this. They are very educated in what they know, but it's just honestly, I can understand their personal relationship and what they believe. My father jumped from different religions. I mean, he was Muslim. He was Muslim, and then he was even in Taoism. You know, he had a lot of perspectives, and he felt at the end that that's what Christianity is what resonated with him, and that's his business. I
Yeah.
understand, but at the same time, it's like we're the generation of technology and understanding more of what was not taught about our people.
Yeah.
And when you learn about that, it's kind of hard to keep a hold on that.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah.
so yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Well, I appreciate your insight, man. Thank you for sharing that. I think that's a great way to end the live. Thankful to everybody that came up and participated today, man. Shout out to y'all. I know some guests trying to come up here, man. I appreciate y'all, but I gotta go. I gotta go to sleep. I'm so I can make more videos tomorrow. I messed up today. I'm trying to schedule my videos now. Y'all, I'm growing the platforms across all these different platforms. Check me out on Twitter, BIGBROLGND. Join our Discord, b1initiative.org. The link is in my bio. That's our think tank where we discuss solutions for our communities, where we organize, where we get together. And join me on Twitter because it's less censored and it's easier to reach me there too. But you can reach me on the Discord as well if you got any questions, want some resources. I got knowledge, I got lectures in there, I got everything in there. And then also check out the YouTube. I post my replays on YouTube. So if you missed anything, you want to see something, it's a good listen. We're working on making it more visual because you can't see like the comments, but it's a good listen for like a podcast if you just want to listen to it in the shower or whatever you do. Appreciate you, Leisha. Shout out to Francesca, my moderator in the Discord. Anybody that wants to be a Discord moderator, let me know. We got to vet you first. Got to make sure you be one. Shout out to I think Lovely Rose Petals was in here earlier. Shout out to Kira, Africa Debunked. Thank you for coming up, Petty, Black Swan. Who else? I try to thank everybody, man, because that's how I was taught, give thanks to everybody that was able to participate. Timothy, Black Swan, yes. And happy Kwanzaa, y'all. Nia, that's purpose. That means that today we are focusing on aligning our personal purpose with what is also beneficial for our people. It's not just about us. It is about like all of these themes really in Kwanzaa are aimed back at benefiting the community. Yesterday we had who would we have? Ujima. So we had collective work and responsibility. We had Kuji Chakulia. We had Umoja. So yeah, we're doing a lot. Tomorrow we're gonna have another Kwanzaa celebration on the live. But yeah, I'll talk to y'all. Peace.
Much love, brother. You be easy.
One love.